Chapter 1766. Hello, Mr. Chun. Hello, may I know who you are? I'm a queso. Klaus ordered a batch of equipment from my boss. We've already sent it to L.A. Klaus isn't in L.A. right now, but he told us to contact you. Oh, where are you now? At the container terminal. The equipment Klaus ordered is all in the containers. I'll go there now. Do I need to call a truck? Yes, 3 trucks. Okay, I'll go there now. I'll call a truck too. Chen Zhao stood up and glanced at Portia, who was a bit full from lunch. Portia, get up and contact 3 trucks. Oh, got it, boss. Are we going out? Yes, to the terminal. Call the truck there too. Boss, what about Jerlin and Larissa? Same. Bring them. Chen Zhao arrived at the terminal. A man with a centipede-like suture scar on his face walked over. The man looked burly and ferocious-looking. In any movie, he wouldn't last more than 3 episodes. When Portia saw the man, she shuddered. It was already written on his face, "I'm not a good person." You're Mr. Chun, right? Yes. You're a queso? Yes. Are you in charge of installing the equipment too? We're in charge of the installation too. Okay. Send the containers to the truck first. You guys follow my car. No problem. After Portia and Chen Zhao returned to the car, Chen Zhao drove. Boss, what equipment did you buy? It's complicated, Chen Zhao said calmly. The car drove further and further away. It took them more than an hour to reach the entrance of the headquarters. Bang! Aduz opened the door. Aduz peeked out from the guard post and immediately opened the door. It was Portia's first time here. She looked around curiously. However, apart from the guard, she didn't see anyone else. The entire headquarters seemed very quiet. Jerlin was very familiar with the place and had already started running around. Mr. Chun, where's the equipment? It's in a warehouse over there. Chen Zhao pointed. Then a queso ordered his people to bring down the equipment. Portia looked around but didn't see anyone. Boss, what is this place? Portia asked. My company. Chen Zhao replied casually. Company? Portia didn't see any company logo or logo. After circling around the headquarters twice, Portia still couldn't figure out what this place was. However, after circling to the back of the headquarters, Portia suddenly saw a tall tower. The tower was very tall. Its architectural style was very similar to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but it was much taller. What made Portia feel even more regretful was that the round tower didn't have any entrances. Boss, what's the use of this tower? Beautiful, Chen Zhao answered. Portia looked back at the headquarters, then at the round tower. The 2 buildings were of completely different styles. It was even weirder when they were put together. You call this good-looking? Portia wondered if there was something wrong with Chen Zhao's taste. Portia also noticed that there was an uncomfortable atmosphere in this area. There were dark clouds above his head, and he could clearly see the edge of the dark clouds. Outside the dark clouds, the sun was shining brightly. Boss, what kind of equipment are those? Equipment to process parts, Chen Zhao said casually. Portia didn't believe him. No matter how she looked at it, she couldn't tell where these machines had the function of processing spare parts. In any case, everything here was a little strange. Go to the front, Chen Zhao said. The forest behind is very big. It's easy to get lost. Portia glanced at Chen Zhao. After arriving here, Chen Zhao had let Jerlin play by herself. He didn't seem worried that his daughter would get lost. Could it be that she was inferior to little Jerlin? Portia rolled her eyes at Chen Zhao. However, this forest was indeed a bit uncomfortable. She didn't know if it was because of the dark clouds in the sky. Portia just felt pressured. In fact, Portia felt uncomfortable because this area was the activity area of evil spirits. Even at this moment, there were still a few evil spirits moving around in the vicinity. Moreover, if Portia's emotions fluctuated slightly, she might see some ghosts. This was why Chen Zhao had to send her away so that she wouldn't see the evil spirits. Boss, I'll go back to the car and rest. Portia thought that it was because she hadn't slept well last night. There are some empty rooms for the employees. Do you want to sleep? I'll call you when we get back. No need. Akazuo and his team were very skilled. After an hour, the installation of the equipment was almost complete. Now it was time to test it. Mr. Chun, we need to open an exit there. Akazuo pointed at the wall. This way, The cannonball will be fired from this direction and then fired from the other side through the ring-shaped sensor. Okay, I understand. Chen Zhao nodded. Do you need me to get someone to open an exit for you? No, Chen Zhao said. I'll open it when my people are here. Okay. Akazuo nodded. Everyone had their own needs. This is the monitor and control panel. What's the highest speed this equipment can test? This is an optical sensor. In theory, there is no upper limit, but in reality, it is impossible to do so. The core of this equipment is the ring sensor. If Mr. Chun is using it to detect large-caliber artillery shells, you need to be careful that the impact will not destroy the ring sensor. Of course, with the current progress of weapon development, most weapons can be detected at their ballistic speed. Chen Zhao nodded. Akazuo spoke in layman's terms. He didn't use too many technical terms, but Chen Zhao could roughly understand. Akazuo didn't ask Chen Zhao why there was a projectile speed testing device here. This place didn't look normal. Who knew what he was going to do? Perhaps this was some kind of research facility. Akazuo knew that the more he knew, the more dangerous it would be. So, when it came to such things, he had no intention of asking. Can the sensor withstand high temperatures? Chen Zhao asked. Akazuo tilted his head and looked at Chen Zhao. Mr. Chun, the inner ring of the sensor is tungsten alloy. It can withstand temperatures above 6,000 degrees. As long as you don't create a nuclear explosion here, there won't be a problem. Okay. Chen Zhao was quite satisfied. Mr. Chun, this is my name card. If you have any problems, you can call me at any time. Okay, I understand. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 1767. Knock, knock. Portia, wake up. We can go back now. When Portia opened her eyes, she realized that it was already late. She glanced at the time. It was already past 6. No wonder the sky was completely dark. Boss, are we going back to Mingwe Villa now? Yes, you drive. Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Klaus. Klaus, the equipment is ready. You could transfer the money to them now. Okay. Oh, how are you in Norway? Have you made any progress? We just entered the forest today. We haven't found anything valuable yet. Keep in touch. Remember to contact me if you need anything. Got it, President. When they reached Mingwe Villa, it was already past 9 at night. Portia drove really slowly, even slower than Chen Zhao. Chen, where did you go today? Seeing Chen Zhao and Portia return, Fei Lai immediately pulled Portia aside. Portia, stay for dinner. You haven't eaten yet, right? Miss Fei Lai, I have to go back. It's getting late. Then don't go back. You have to come back tomorrow anyway. Portia thought about it. If she went back now, she would have to eat dinner and wash up before going to bed at midnight. She would have to come back tomorrow. It would indeed be tiring. Just come down. There's a lot of empty rooms, Chen Zhao said casually. Since Chen Zhao had spoken, Portia followed suit and stayed. To be honest, every time she saw Chen Zhao's family having a meal, it would be as sumptuous as celebrating the new year. Boss, what kind of monster is that? Portia looked at the arachne limbs roasting on the charcoal. The limbs were considered small. They were only around 1 meter long. But in Portia's eyes, they were already astonishing. A type of giant crab, Chen Zhao said casually. Eat more and ask less. It's tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram on the market. Portia gulped. Thousands of dollars per kilogram? The limbs on the table were worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Portia felt like the world was spinning around her. If she told others that she ate hundreds of thousands of dollars in one meal, who would believe her? Chen Zhao picked up a limb and broke it off, handing it to Portia. The aroma of crab meat spread out from the limb. That tempting crab meat aroma had yet to enter one's mouth, but it was already irresistible. This is too fragrant. However, Portia realized that Chen Zhao had given her too much. She couldn't finish half of the crab meat anymore. But if he didn't eat it, it would be a waste. On the other hand, Chen Zhao didn't keep the entire limb in his hand for long. He finished it in a few bites. Chen Zhao started eating other things. After a gust of wind, he finished most of the food. Fei Lai, on the other hand, chewed slowly and fed little Jerlin. Little Larissa couldn't eat a big meal for now, so she was still eating some soft food. Little Jerlin, on the other hand, had no inhibitions. She even dared to stuff pebbles in her mouth, let alone food. You guys continue. I'm going down to swim. Portia was not too surprised by Chun Zhao's nocturnal habit. In her eyes, Chun Zhao was just a freak. Everything was different from ordinary people. Of course, she did not forget how ruthless Chun Zhao was when he dealt with the gunman yesterday. In her eyes, Chun Zhao was someone she couldn't afford to offend. To Chun Zhao, the night was the best camouflage. Only at night could Chun Zhao move around freely. Moreover, Chun Zhao dove into the water. Even satellites couldn't detect him. Nowadays, satellites used optical surveillance to monitor the ground. This used extremely clear optical technology to observe the ground from a close distance. Then, computers would recognize and repair the image, continuously adjusting the clarity. With America's current technology, satellites could already see people's faces clearly from hundreds of thousands of meters in the sky. The second was metal ripple detection. This technology mainly used submarines, ships, and planes as detection targets. The so-called anti-radar planes and stealth planes were actually used to counter such surveillance equipment. The third is thermal monitoring technology. This kind of monitoring is mainly used in anti-missile systems or tracking missiles. Chun Zhao mainly guarded against the third kind of surveillance technology. Satellites at high altitudes could capture low-altitude or near-Earth heat sources. If Chun Zhao flew too fast, his body would heat up. He would be easily captured by thermal surveillance satellites. He might even be mistaken for a plane or missile. Therefore, Chun Zhao would mostly move under the sea. This could reduce the heat emitted from his body. Of course, if Chun Zhao wanted to fly high in the sky, he would try to slow down. As long as he didn't heat up, he was basically invisible. Unless someone saw him with the naked eye, he was almost impossible to discover. Chun Zhao could only move at night. If he flew in the sky during the day, he would be discovered too easily. Psionic Team Headquarters. Jeff Ryder was locked in a glass panoramic cell. Jeff Ryder could feel that he was being used as bait. Ever since he'd been brought here, the people here didn't care about him anymore. Without any interrogation, he was directly sent to the cell. Outside the glass cell, a few surveillance cameras were pointed at him. In the control room, Vestana glanced at Brits beside her. "Will he come tonight?" "That's possible," Brits said. Just then, the external surveillance flashed a few times. "There's a reaction from a surveillance outside number 3, another member in the control room reminded. A dozen figures appeared in the surveillance. They were all covered in a layer of black. Only one person's face could be seen clearly. Search for this person's identity. Abrametti, retired soldier, killer, mercenary. He used to be the boss of the freak gang on the streets of London. Disappeared 2 years ago. Is there any more information? No. Isn't he a spiritualist? There's no evidence that he's one. Then what are those black things around him? The black things were all equipped with all sorts of equipment. Brits, who's going to capture him? It's best if we send a tank. After transforming, a tank is immune to these firearms. Vestana nodded and picked up the microphone. "Tank, can you hear me? There's a bunch of weird guys outside. Go capture the one that looks the most human. The rest are up to you." Chapter 1768. The pure metal door of the psionic headquarters rose slowly. Tank stood behind the door. Even in the night, his majestic figure couldn't be hidden. "Tank, remember, that person needs to be alive." Tank responded to Vestana's request with an angry roar. In the control room, Vestana looked at Tank's body. "How's Tank now?" 21% rage. Weight 435 kilograms. Height 348 centimeters. Straight line speed is 28 meters per second. Maximum impact can reach 3,600 kilograms. His arms can hold 2,100 kilograms. Tank is in his normal form now. His rage isn't high, but it should be enough to deal with the things outside, Blitz said. Just then, Tank had already charged into the black figures on the screen. In an instant, Tank's straight line charge pierced through the black figures' line of defense. The black figures were like liquid, collapsing upon contact with the tank. But soon they regrouped. It seemed that physical attacks were ineffective against them. Tank smashed his fists on the ground. Boom! Waves appeared on the ground. All the black figures within 10 meters were affected. The people who were affected by the shockwave collapsed and then reformed again. Thud, thud, thud. The other black figures started shooting at Tank. Sparks flew when the bullets hit Tank's body. Although the bullets couldn't penetrate Tank's body, they angered him. 28% rage. Weight 518 kilograms. Height 398 centimeters. Other stats are increasing. As Tank's rage rose, his strength also increased at a terrifying rate. But against these black figures, his attacks seemed to be very weak. These things should be immune to physical attacks. Tank's combat power and destructive power are almost perfect, but his fighting style is too simple. Against enemies that ignore physical attacks, he's very helpless, Blitz said. Vestana nodded. She couldn't help but recall the time in the Tota Snowy Mountains. In the battle between Chunjiao and Kunkka, Chunjiao was also best at physical attacks. However, his attacks were more varied. He could attack a single person or a group of people. Thinking of this, Vestana couldn't help but look down at the exposed lines on her arm. She didn't know what to think. At this moment, the situation at the battle scene on the surveillance screen changed. The black figures suddenly approached Tank's body. Then, one of the black silhouettes suddenly grew in size, while the Tank's body shrank significantly. However, the figure's body suddenly exploded after swelling to a certain extent. Then he never recovered. Tank's rage level has dropped. Not good, call the tanks back, Blitz shouted. Those black figures will absorb the tank's magic power. At this time, Tank's rage value, after a brief decrease, suddenly rose again. Tank's rage has reached 65%. He's angry. The tank's body suddenly grew to a height of 550 centimeters. But at that moment, the other black figures used the same trick again. However, these black figures had clearly learned their lesson. After absorbing a certain amount of magic power, they stopped absorbing. Every black silhouette was about 400 centimeters tall, and they looked like black giants. Tank was infuriated, but his physical attacks were ineffective against these black figures. The only black figure that had been destroyed so far was because he had absorbed too much magic power. No, we have to call the tanks back and send someone else, Blitz said. He picked up the microphone and said, Tank, come back and retreat immediately. But at this moment, Tank was like a madman, attacking those black figures in a frenzy. This won't do. Once his rage level rises, he'll lose his mind. Meanwhile, Tank's rage level continued to rise. But he was facing a group of enemies that couldn't be killed. The more it was like this, the angrier he became, and the higher his rage level became. At this time, all the black figures had turned into small giants. They were also extremely strong, although not as strong as Tank. But their combat power had increased by a lot. Tank's bad side is that his combat power is related to his rage level. Once his rage level rises, he'll lose his mind, Blitz said helplessly. When Tank lost his mind in battle, not only would his combat power increase greatly, he would also lose his mind. There were a few times when Tank had lost his mind and attacked his companions. So now, when Tank attacked, the other members of the psionic team wouldn't do anything. And when the psionic team attacked, they wouldn't let Tank attack. They were worried about friendly fire. I really shouldn't have let Tank attack, Vestana said regretfully. Blitz's expression was a bit ugly. The battlefield seemed to have reached a stalemate. In reality, the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for Tank. Tank wasn't a perpetual motion machine. Sooner or later, he would run out of energy. But those black figures wouldn't get tired. They wanted to support Tank, but they were worried that Tank would accidentally hurt his companions. Vestana's gaze fell on Matey. Matey had been staying away from the battlefield and didn't participate. Those black figures seemed to be controlled by that guy, called Matey, Vestana said. Vestana said, if we send someone to snipe Matey from afar without intervening in the battle, we might be able to control the situation. But don't you want him alive? Now isn't the time to care about the enemy's life or death. The most important thing right now is to stop this battle. Otherwise, Tank might be injured or even killed. Maybe Samira has a way. Vestana thought about it and nodded. Then let's try. If it doesn't work, we'll just kill him. He's our enemy anyway. There's no need to pity our enemy. Sam Milla, you're going out now. Your target is that human. Attack from a distance. Bring him back as long as it's within your capabilities. If you can't do it, just kill that human, Vestana ordered into the microphone. Sam Mira didn't go out through the main door. Instead, he stood on the roof of the headquarters and watched the battlefield from afar. Sam Mira, do you have a way? We can try, Sam Mira replied. At the same time, he raised his arms and shouted, Ancient elf in the rock, please bring my enemy to me. 2 rock snakes emerged from the sand below and charged at my D. The 2 rock snakes were extremely fast. They were more than 10 meters long and as thick as buckets. Just then, Matey suddenly turned into a tank-like giant. His body instantly grew bigger and he punched the 2 rock snakes into powder. Chapter 1769. The expressions of the people in the control room and Sam Mira, who was on the rooftop, changed. That person also has the same ability as the black figure, said Brits. That Matey didn't have close contact with Tank, but after the black figure absorbed Tank's magic power, Matey has the same ability. It seems that the black figure and Matey are somehow connected. Pondering for a moment, Brits said, it should be a contract. That Matey isn't a spiritualist. Those black figures must have been summoned by Matey, but there's a real spiritualist in the middle. Those black figures seem to be Matey's evil incarnation. In the psionic team, Brits was known as the little encyclopedia of magic. The number of spells he knew and mastered was innumerable. Soon he could guess most of it. Of course, in the world of magic, there were as many types of spells as the sea of stars. Moreover, new spells were being created and lost every moment. So, even Brits couldn't master all the spells. However, Brits could still distinguish their types and characteristics through some details. Brits picked up the microphone and said to Sam Mira, change to a magic attack. It's best if it's a direct one. Mr. Brits, my magic attack can't hit a target that far away, said Sam Mira. What about confinement? That won't work either. Then what other spells do you have that can solve the current problem? As long as they can attack or kill the target. Brits was rather unfamiliar with Sam Mira's ancient god spawn spell. Spawn spells borrowed the power of ancient gods. They were even more ancient than the common demonic spells nowadays, and their circulation was limited. Most spawn spells summoned ancient gods that were illusory or physical. I'll try, said Sam Mira. Taking a deep breath, Sam Mira raised his right arm and pointed at Matey from 1,000 meters away. Spirit of the ancient star, hear my call. Send down your divine might for me to use. Just then, 3 balls of light appeared above Matey's head. Each of the 3 balls of light shot out a beam of light at Matey from 3 different angles. Matey reacted quickly and dodged the 3 intersecting beams of light. The 3 beams of light streaked across the ground, leaving 3 scorch marks. In the control room, Blitz shook his head. Sam Mira's spell is quite powerful, but the prelude to the attack is too long, and the trajectory is too obvious. Even a normal person would be able to avoid it. Vestana nodded. There was indeed a huge problem. What do we do now? Vestana asked. Let me do it, Brits said. Vestana thought for a moment. If it wasn't necessary, Brits wouldn't have intervened. After all, Blitz was the deputy leader, and he was an excellent commander. Only by commanding from the rear could he display his greatest effectiveness. There were many people in the psionic ability team who were not weak. However, under such circumstances, it was difficult for him to display his true strength. As a result, Brits had no choice but to act. Vestana suddenly remembered the supernatural society. If they were in his shoes, what would they do? Brits got up and left the headquarters, heading in the direction of Matey. Matey noticed Brits coming over and immediately tensed up. In the end, he was just an ordinary person. He knew that there were strange powers and gods in this world, as well as mysterious and bizarre powers. In Brits's hand was a 36-sided die. As he walked, Brits tossed the die into the air and grabbed it. 29. Brits knew the number even without looking at the face of the die. Looks like white magic is suitable for this battle. Brits used the die to determine the spell to use. Speaking of which, this was also a prophecy spell. It was used to predict what type of spell to use. 2 white balls of light appeared in Britz's hands. Just then, a black figure broke away from the battle and charged at Britz. Britz tossed the white balls of light in his hands. The black figure couldn't dodge in time and was instantly hit by the white balls. Whoa! The black figure let out a strange cry, and its body suddenly melted into black. Looks like holy magic is very effective against these black figures, Britz muttered to himself. They must be evil clones created by negative emotions. Britz continued, walking toward Matey. Knowing that he was no match for Britz, Matey hurriedly ran toward the tank. Britz looked at Matey's figure. Not stupid. The ball of light in Britz's hands turned into a longbow. Britz pulled the bowstring, and a white arrow appeared on the bowstring. The white arrow was aimed at Matey, and the bowstring was lightly released. The white arrow flew straight at Matey. Matey's body was instantly hit, and the arrow pierced through his body. Matey let out a scream of pain, making him wish he was dead. Matey struggled to look at Britz and raised his hand to control the dozen black figures. Under Matey's control, the black figures began to merge into one. A 10-meter-tall black giant, so much so that even the tank was much smaller than this black giant. The black giant raised his leg and heavily kicked the tank's body. The tank was sent flying and fell towards Blitz. "Oh no!" Britz exclaimed in shock and hurriedly dodged. Tank landed next to Britz and immediately got up, but his target had changed to Britz. "Damn it!" Blitz cursed inwardly and hurriedly shouted, "Holy light chain!" A dozen silver-white chains shot out from the dark night and bound the tank tightly. But right now, Tank was extraordinarily strong, and he kept struggling, trying to break free of the chain's restraints. Britz had to divert even more magic power to restrain Tank. But at that moment, the black giant was already swinging towards Britz. Judgment. Britz had to divert part of his power to deal with the black giant. Chapter 1770. A strangely dressed black man walked out of the darkness. Mr. Bo Tuesday, seeing Bo Two's arrival, Matey was overjoyed. Bo Two pointed his skeletal staff at Matey. The black giant that was pierced by the 2 holy swords turned into a puddle of dirty water, which surged toward Matey like a tide. The puddle of dirty water poured directly into Matey's mouth. Matey looked at his body in disbelief. He felt an indescribable power filling his body. Britz frowned, clearly sensing that this black man, called Bo Two, wasn't easy to deal with. "My request is simple. Return Jeff Ride to me," Bo Two said calmly. "What if I refuse?" Britz stared at Bo Tuesday. Neither he nor the psionic team would compromise on this matter. Just like how the government wouldn't compromise with terrorists. This was a matter of principle. If they could compromise with Bo Two once, they would compromise with other enemies in the future. "Then I'm sorry." Bo Two tapped his skeletal staff on the ground, and a patch of darkness spread toward Britz. Britz suddenly moved and jumped onto Tank's shoulder. Holy Angel's radiance. In an instant, the chains binding Tank melted into his skin, and white tattoos began to appear on his skin. The white tattoos instantly made Tank feel an indescribable sense of tranquility, and at the same time, they gave him even purer power. "Britz? Why are you here?" Tank, who had regained his senses, found Britz standing on his shoulder. "The mastermind has appeared." Britz pointed at Bo Tuesday. "Raise your rage level to the max and charge over. Don't worry about losing your mind." Tank's fists bumped together, and his breathing became heavier. As his rage level continued to rise, his strength and physique became even more exaggerated. Tank's feet stomped on the ground, and he charged forward like a high-speed train. Just then, Matey suddenly stood in front of Bo Two and threw a punch at Tank's face. Tank met it with a punch of his own. Bang! A dull explosion resounded. Tank actually didn't get the upper hand. In the HQ surveillance room, Vistana's expression was solemn. It seemed that Britz and Tank alone couldn't guarantee victory. After Bo Two's arrival, the situation began to tilt in his favor. All psionic team members prepare for battle. All the members in the headquarters perked up. After gathering, they appeared outside the headquarters one after another. Including Tank, Brits, and Sam Milla, there were a total of 15 people. Bo2 frowned slightly. It seemed like the situation was more serious than he had imagined. Bo2 glanced at Tank, who was rampaging through his fallen domain. He was completely unaffected by the corrosion of his fallen domain. Taking a closer look, it should be the holy light blessing on his body. Suddenly, the Tank's feet sank, as if he had fallen into a swamp. The harder the Tank pushed, the more it sank in. At that moment, a dark-skinned man walked over. This man was probably from the Afro-Asian region. He wore a white robe and held a gold-inlaid scepter in his hand. "Anubis, please lend me your army. I will bring you a gift of death." The sand on the ground billowed, and tall Anubis warriors with dog heads and human bodies stood up from the sand. He was Immerse from Egypt. He called himself Anubis Shaman. A large number of black figures also appeared in Bo2's dark domain. The black figures and the Anubis warriors were engaged in a chaotic battle. For a moment, it was difficult to determine the victor. A ball of flame shot out from the darkness and attacked Bo2's back. Bo2 immediately swept up the black substance to block the flame. The sneak attacker failed to land a hit, so he immediately bounced back and disappeared into the night. The shadow assassin, Singh, was also a difficult opponent. "Ancient King, please show your invincibility and accept the worship of the world." A pair of huge arms formed by energy appeared beside Sam Milla. Sam Milla did not have enough magic power. He could only summon a pair of the Ancient King's arms at most. Bo2's expression was grave. He did not expect such a difficult organization to exist in North America. He had thought that he could do whatever he wanted in North America alone. He did not expect to suffer in a magical desert like this. At this moment, he had to admit that he could not break into the psionic team's headquarters alone. Bo2 looked around and suddenly retracted his fallen domain. "Matey, let's go." With that, Bo2 controlled the black substance to wrap around Matey and quickly left the battlefield. "Don't chase," Brits ordered. This was their home ground, but if they were to chase Bo2, who knew what kind of trap Bo2 had prepared for them? Bo2 was so powerful that none of them could fight against him alone. Once they were in danger, it was very likely that Bo2 would defeat them one by one. Return to the headquarters. The psionic team returned to the headquarters. Everyone had a grave expression on their faces. They could clearly feel Bo2's powerful strength. No one would be able to fight Bo2 alone. Everyone gathered in the conference room, which was very depressing. After all, everyone could feel the pressure. It was different from the Stone of Slaughter incident last time. Tamamo no Mei's appearance gave them the feeling that she was going to destroy the world. They felt that they were not fighting against an enemy, but against nature. Therefore, no one would feel dejected. The difference between their levels was too great. That was what everyone knew. However, Bo2's strength was predictable. They could clearly feel the difference if they were alone. Even if they worked together, they could not guarantee that they could defeat him. Bo2 could attack and defend at will, which made everyone feel uncomfortable. Moreover, as long as Bo2 did not attack and hid in the dark, he could make them feel pain. No one could defend forever, but Bo2 could hide forever. Vestana looked at Brits. "Brits, what do you want to say?" After pondering for a long time, Blitz said, "We can't just passively defend. We have to take the initiative to attack and track down the whereabouts of that spirit controller. Then, we have to capture or eliminate him. Otherwise, we'll be in more trouble." Vestana thought about it and asked, "Why does that wizard have to save Jeff Ride?" "Probably because he has some kind of contract with Jeff Ride, so he has to save him. Of course, it could also be that he lent his power to Jeff Ride, so he needs to get his power back. What if we kill Jeff Ride?" Chapter 1771. No, I can't confirm their true relationship right now. It's possible that he wants to kill Jeff Ryder. If we kill Jeff Ryder, we might fulfill his wish. Vestana's eyes flashed. "But," she said meaningfully, "do we really have to fight him to the death?" Everyone's eyes fell on Vestana. A few of them were still in a daze. "Find his tracks," Vestana said. "Don't do anything yet." In the morning, Portia walked out of the villa after washing up. She had to admit that staying here for a night gave her an indescribable sense of comfort. She didn't need to turn on the air conditioner. As long as she opened the windows at night, the sea breeze would bring her a refreshing feeling. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't hot either. The sound of the waves wasn't ear-piercing either. Instead, it made her fall asleep even faster. Portia suddenly realized that breakfast was already prepared. It was as sumptuous as ever. Had Chen Zhao and Fei Lai woken up early to prepare breakfast? Portia was in disbelief. Impossible. Was there a chef in the villa? Otherwise, how could they prepare such sumptuous food every day? She didn't believe that Chen Zhao and Fei Lai would wake up. As expected, they didn't wake up until 8. They were clearly not the type to sleep early and wake up early. Both of them got out of bed and washed up. Then, they sat down at the breakfast table to eat. It was as if it was natural to wake up and find a table full of sumptuous breakfast. Portia, aren't you going to eat? Chen Zhao glanced at her. Portia had been looking at them strangely the entire morning. Boss, do you have a chef in your house? Yeah, don't you know? Who knew? She'd never seen one before. Where is he? How come I've never seen him before? Oh, I'll introduce you guys when I'm free. Isn't he in the villa now? No, he left after making breakfast. What about lunch and dinner? Why are you asking so many questions? I'm curious. Don't be too curious. In movies, curious people always die faster. Portia shuddered. Had she asked something she shouldn't have? Portia, don't listen to Chen's nonsense. All right. Actually, the head chef is very ugly, so he doesn't want to appear in front of outsiders. Plus, he's weird. If he sees someone prettier than him, he'll get jealous. Then you'll disappear without a trace. Maybe you'll appear at our table. Portia gulped and Fei Lai rolled her eyes. Do you really have to scare Portia? Portia was completely speechless at Chen Zhao's evil boss. However, Chen Zhao's mysterious tone made Portia even more curious. She had a feeling that they were hiding something. Was it really as Chen Zhao said? Chen Zhao looked like he was serious, but also like he was joking. For a moment, Portia couldn't tell if it was real or fake. Besides, Fei Lai was so pretty. If the chef was jealous, Fei Lai should be the one who should be the most jealous, right? But every time she came to the Bright Moon Villa, as long as it was mealtime, it would be very sumptuous. That was illogical. After breakfast, Fei Lai went to the coastal rescue team. Portia, on the other hand, was reading a magazine in the yard. Chen Zhao was working out. In Portia's eyes, Chen Zhao was a fitness maniac. Whenever he was free, he would work out. Kalon came and started training with Chen Zhao again. Kalon realized that no matter how fast he increased his speed, Chen Zhao could always keep up. This made him a bit discouraged. Chen Zhao had said that he was a strength-enhancing type, not a speed-enhancing type. But an amateur like Chen Zhao was actually stronger than a professional. This was a blow to Kalon. It was like swimming, but it was faster than sprinting. If it was a professional sports competition, it would have been impossible for this to happen. Mr. Chen, how can you be so fast? It's not that I'm fast. It's because my level is higher than yours, Chen Zhao said. You played online games before, right? A level, 10 newbie, and a level, 100 player. Even the lowest stats of the level, 100 player, are higher than the highest stats of the level, 10 player. So the difference between us is 10 times. Maybe the level difference is 10 times, but the stats are more than that. Okay, Kalon said. I'll surpass you one day, at least in terms of speed. Mr. Chen, I have classes in the afternoon. Then let's call it a day, Chen Zhao said. After Kalon left Mingyue Villa, he hurried to school. When he reached the school gate, a stranger suddenly walked over. Hello, sir, the stranger called out. Kalon turned around and looked at the stranger in confusion. The stranger wore a cap, so he couldn't see his face clearly. He could only vaguely see that his face was covered in stubble. His clothes were a bit dirty. It seemed like he hadn't changed in days. At the same time, there was a pungent smell on his body. Kalon took a step back instinctively. Hello, who are you? The stranger looked up. Are you a speed-enhancing spiritualist? Kalon was stunned. Who was this person? How did he know his identity? Was he also a spiritualist? I have something to talk to you about, the stranger said. Can I borrow some of your time? Kalon remembered that he'd met someone from the psionic team last time. so Kalon was instinctively on guard. He wasn't sure of the stranger's intentions, nor did he know his identity. Kalon wouldn't obediently cooperate with the stranger's request. "I don't know you, Mr. Kalon. You don't want to fight here, right?" the stranger said. Kalon frowned. Was he threatening him? "Who exactly are you? I just want to talk to you." "Of course, the way you talk depends on you," the stranger said. Kalon thought about it. As a spiritualist, he obviously couldn't expose his identity so easily. But from the stranger's tone, he didn't seem to mind exposing himself. He was at the school gate, and there were people coming and going. It was indeed inconvenient to fight. "Where to?" "To my car." The stranger pointed at his car. Kalon thought about it and followed the stranger into the car. But the moment he got in, a black liquid suddenly appeared in the depths of the car. Kalon immediately realized that it was a trap. But before he could react, the black liquid started absorbing his magic the moment it came into contact with Colin's skin. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 1772. Amy and Ceylon sat before Colin's bed. Just then, the door was pushed open. Seeing Chun Zhao come in, Amy was surprised. "Mr. Chun." Chun Zhao was also surprised. "Amy, hello. Did an elite ask you to come?" Amy asked. Yes. An elite is on a business trip, so he asked me to see if there's anything I can help with," Chun Zhao said. "I don't know who my son offended. He was dumped at the school gate for no reason." Actually, if Chun Zhao hadn't heard it from an elite, he wouldn't have known that Kalon was Angelite's son. But thinking carefully, both of them had awakened special bloodlines, and they were both agility-type spiritualists. Chun Zhao hadn't thought about this at all. If he hadn't seen Amy and Ceylon, he would have almost forgotten about it. Right now, Amy's face was full of bitterness. An elite, whom she could rely on, had gone on a business trip again. As a woman, she didn't know what to do. "Can you tell me about Colin's condition?" Chun Zhao walked to the bed. "Mr. Chun, the doctor said that Kalon isn't injured. The reason for his coma isn't clear yet." Chun Zhao suddenly felt that Ceylon had been staring at him. Chun Zhao looked up at her and smiled. "Ceylon, do you still remember me?" "Yes," Ceylon said, nodding. "You're really good." Chun Zhao touched Ceylon's head. Seeing the toolbox Chun Zhao had put down, Amy asked, "Mr. Chun, are you a doctor?" "I'm a medical professor at the LA branch," Chun Zhao answered. "Oh, I see." Amy relaxed. Since he was a medical professor, there was definitely no problem. He was also Angelite's superior. Chun Zhao pulled Colin's wrist. Kalon had used up a lot of his magic. Had he fought with someone? He wasn't physically injured, but he'd used up too much magic, so he wasn't very energetic. "Amy, I need to perform acupuncture on Kalon. Is that okay?" Chun Zhao asked. "Acupuncture? Can you wake Kalon up?" "Yes." "Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chun." Amy nodded. "Do you need us to leave?" "No." Chun Zhao shook his head. "He'll be fine soon." Chun Zhao flipped Colin over and pulled open his shirt. Afterwards, he began to insert silver needles into Colin's body. One of the needles was inserted into his qi sea. Chun Zhao flicked the silver needle in his sea of qi with his finger. Then, Colin's body suddenly trembled. "Don't move," Chun Zhao said. "There's a needle on your back. You don't want it to pierce your body, right?" Amy's face was filled with surprise. She didn't expect Chun Zhao's acupuncture to be so effective. In the beginning, Chun Zhao said that it would be healed soon. She was still in disbelief. The doctor from the nearby hospital said that he still needed to be observed, and his current condition was unknown. In her heart, she was more inclined to the hospital's explanation. He didn't expect Chun Zhao to do what he said. He said it would only take a while, and sure enough, Kellen woke up in the blink of an eye. "Kalon, listen to Mr. Chun. Don't move." "Mom." Colin didn't expect his mother to be here. Chun Zhao put away the needles and patted Colin's shoulder. "It's done." Amy ran over excitedly. "Who did you offend, Colin? Are you a member of some gang? Gang? Did you get into some kind of trouble?" Parents were all like that. They always thought that their child had gotten into trouble outside. Did he offend a gang? Did he participate in gang activities? "Amy, Colin might be a bit malnourished. He's slightly anemic and didn't rest properly after a high-intensity workout. That's why he's in a coma," Chun Zhao said. "Is that so?" Amy looked at Colin. "Mom, I don't even know what happened. Why am I in the hospital? Really? Amy, you should trust your child. Fine, I was thinking too much. Chun Zhao took out a piece of paper. Amy, this is my phone number. Call me if you have any problems. Of course, I hope you never call me. I know. Thank you, Mr. Chun. Call on. Let me check your body again, Chun Zhao said. Amy, can you give Call on some privacy? Of course, if you want to keep watching him take off his pants, I don't mind either. Fine. Amy, help Call on get discharged. Our company reimburses family medical expenses, but Call on probably doesn't need it. Amy had a good impression of Chun Zhao. Because of this, she changed her opinion of Angelite's work. In comparison, an elite had a good relationship with his colleagues. Last time, in order to help an elite, they'd all gone to San Jose to explain. Chun Zhao's boss was also very kind and friendly. He'd even come to help Call on. Oh, I'll treat you guys to dinner tonight, Chun Zhao said. Mr. Chun, that's not good. You guys definitely didn't prepare dinner. Neither did I. It's settled. After Amy and Ceylon left, Chun Zhao changed his expression. Call on, who did you meet? You look like you've been through a big battle. Mr. Chun, you know my mother and father. Your father, an elite, is my subordinate. What? Call on was shocked. Wait, isn't my father working for the supernatural organization? You're the president of the organization? Call on didn't expect that the person he'd been in contact with was the president of the organization. You already knew? No, I just found out, Chun Zhao said. Tell me, what happened to you today? Call on told him the whole story. You don't know that person at all? I'm sure I don't know him at all. I don't even know why he's looking for me. Since the other party is also a spiritualist, he either found you through a spiritualist that you know or through some channel that sells information about local spiritualists. But I still don't understand why he did this. He absorbed my magic, but what can he do with it? I don't know, but they definitely have a purpose. Will they hurt my family? My mom and sister? Probably not. Of course, don't go out these 2 days. Stay home and call me if you have any problems. Okay, got it. Change your clothes, and I'll treat you guys to dinner. Call on had just taken off his pants when Amy suddenly pushed open the door. Mom, I'm changing. Amy rolled her eyes. Fine, it's not like I haven't seen it before. Mr. Chun, is Call on okay? Other than being hurt by you all changing, everything else is fine. Nine Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1773. Mr. Chun, this restaurant is very expensive, right? Mom, Mr. Chun is very rich. Shut up. Amy glared at Call on. Amy, this restaurant is mine, so it doesn't matter. Fine. However, Amy put the menu down again after picking it up. Every single dish on the menu scared her. The cheapest dish cost more than $200. Chun Zhao could understand Amy's current feelings. Call on and Ceylon were heartless. Ceylon was young and didn't know how to save money for Chun Zhao. Call on was too familiar with Chun Zhao and knew that Chun Zhao was rich. Amy, on the other hand, ate with trepidation. She didn't even taste the dishes before her. All she could think about was how much the dishes cost. Amy, if you don't mind the dishes, you can treat me next time. I can't afford such expensive food. Then treat me to your house. Fine. After dinner, Amy brought Call on and Ceylon home. After the family left, Chun Zhao's expression darkened. All the members of the supernatural organization had left. Only he stayed in L.A. This was like entrusting the family of the association members to Chun Zhao. But now Call on had been attacked. To Chun Zhao, this was a huge dereliction of duty. When Chun Zhao returned home, his expression was still tense. Chun, what happened? Fei Lai asked, concerned. Call on was attacked today. Does he have enemies? I don't think so. More importantly, Call on is Angelite's son. Huh? He's Angelite's son? Fei Lai was surprised too. She didn't expect him to be Angelite's son. When they first met, Chun Zhao had taught Call on a lesson. He'd even sent Call on to the hospital. Who's the culprit? I don't know. He doesn't have any enemies. He just awakened not long ago. Oh, he probably awakened after I sent him to the hospital. Fei Lai burst into laughter. It was really like a flood drowning a Dragon King's temple. They didn't know each other. Other than you, does he know any other spiritualists? I intend to investigate this as well. Today, Call on provided me with 2 spiritualists that he knows. One of them is more, and the other should be an idle spiritualist. Crumb up. Reminded by his companion, Crumb put his palms together. Akalanatha, treasure, elephant, King Kong. In an instant, the golden light shone brightly, and the entire dark space was enveloped by the brilliance. Crumb transformed into an 8-armed Vajra elephant. This Vajra was dignified and angry. Each of its 8 arms held a magic tool. Crumb was an outer disciple of Buddhism. What he cultivated was the Vajra Dharma form, not the Buddhist Dharma. This was mainly because one needed to abide by the precepts in order to cultivate the Dharma. However, the Vajradharma idol was also a secret technique of the Zen sect. Without a certain amount of luck, one could not cultivate it. The entry requirements for the Vajradharma idol were also extremely stringent. What is a Vajra? One must have a compassionate Buddha's heart and an Asura's killing intent. To put it bluntly, Vajra was a Buddhist fighter. Buddha only talked about compassion for everything. And Vajra was compassionate when it was time to be compassionate, and when it was time to kill, it was time to kill. As the saying goes, one Bodhi, one Asura. Crumb waved his 8 arms, and a golden light shot towards the ceiling above his head. In an instant, the filth hiding in the shadows of the ceiling fell to the ground. It was like rotten meat that had been stewed. Done. Let's call it a day. Masa clapped his hands and looked at Crumb. Crumb, you can put away your technique. Crumb was still holding the Vajra Dharma idol. He frowned and looked around. My mind reading is telling me that the danger is not over yet. There seems to be an even greater danger, Crumb said. Mind reading was a Buddhist technique. In scientific terms, it was a sixth sense. However, a sixth sense was an innate intuition. On the other hand, his heart connection could be obtained through cultivation. The perception of a normal spiritualist was sharper than that of a normal person. And after cultivating mind reading, it wasn't the perception that was improved, but the ability to predict, especially when it came to certain things that were about to happen. Mind reading would give the user a strong signal. Do you really feel danger? Masa trusted Crumb's mind reading. Yes. Suddenly, a voice came from the darkness. You're Crumb. Startled, Crumb and Masa turned to look at the darkness. Who are you? I'm Colin's elder, Chun Zhao said. Colin's elder? How come I've never heard Colin mention you? Crumb looked at the figure in the darkness suspiciously. But even with his Buddhist technique, he couldn't see the figure in the darkness. When he'd first met Colin had said that he was just an idle spiritualist. He'd just awakened and didn't know anyone. Now, Colin's elder had appeared. Colin was attacked today. What? Who did it? Crumb cried out in shock. I want to know too, Chun Zhao said. Have you told anyone about Colin's identity as a spiritualist? No, Crumb said without hesitation. His Zen mind was the immovable wisdom king, and he practiced the Vajra Dharma idol. If he had any self-doubt, the Vajra Dharma idol would collapse instantly. But just then, Masa, who was standing behind Crumb, was strangely calm. He even seemed to be avoiding Chun Zhao's gaze. Chun Zhao happened to see Masa's actions. Chun Zhao suddenly appeared before Masa. Do you know? I don't know. Masa avoided Chun Zhao's gaze, not daring to meet Chun Zhao's. Sir, let's talk. Crumb reached out to pull Chun Zhao's shoulder, but Chun Zhao turned around and waved. Crumb felt an unparalleled power burst forth from Chun Zhao's arm. Crumb's tall body was sent flying. He crashed through the wall and landed on the ground outside the building. Crumb vomited a mouthful of blood and stood up with difficulty. He was now empowered by the diamond gem elephant, which could even stop a speeding car. But facing this person, he'd been sent flying with one move. Crumb couldn't believe that the young kid had such a terrifying elder. But Crumb didn't have time to think so much. It seemed to be related to Masa. Plus, he had a close relationship with Masa, so he couldn't just watch. Looking at Masa, Chun Zhao said calmly, Tell me, what happened? Or maybe you were the one who attacked Colin. It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. Masa hurriedly waved his hands. The person in front of him had sent Crumb, who was at his peak, flying with a single punch. This kind of strength was definitely not something he could fight against. Masa was also terrified. He didn't expect the kid to have such an elder supporting him. Chapter 1774. Suddenly, Crumb broke through the wall again and charged in. Crumb's huge body stood there, his 8 arms forming 4 hand seals. Telekinesis! Chun Zhao suddenly felt his body freeze for a moment. It was like when he'd encountered Black Dragon in the Tower of Trial. Black Dragon had frozen him. However, Crumb wasn't as strong as Black Dragon. Every time Black Dragon froze Chun Zhao, he could attack or dodge Chun Zhao's attack. But Crumb couldn't do anything. Instead, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Buddhism's telekinesis and Taoism's body freeze were actually similar spells. They both used their own powers to suppress the opponent. But Crumb had never seen such a terrifying opponent. Not only was his telekinesis ineffective, but it was also broken by the opponent. Instead, he'd been heavily injured. Crumb only felt powerless. Chun Zhao glanced at Crumb. "If you don't want me to kill you, you better behave." Masa, who was closer to Chun Zhao, almost peed his pants. "What about you? Are you going to talk or not?" I'll talk, Masa said hurriedly. Masa raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. But the next moment, Masa suddenly disappeared. Then, he appeared beside Crumb and grabbed him. The next moment, he disappeared again. "Masa, run. If we don't run, he'll kill us." "Did you really do the attack on Kalon?" "Run first," Masa said. "I'll tell you later." Masa was an extremely rare spatial spell, and he was best at telekinesis. If he wanted to run, no one could stop him. In just 3 or 4 seconds, Masa had already escaped 1 kilometer with Crumb. Stop! Stop! Danger!" Crumb suddenly yelled. "What?" Boom! Suddenly, something fell from the sky. A huge impact spread out in all directions. Masa and Crumb were both sent flying by the impact. They both spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking back, they saw Chun Zhao walk out of the huge hole. "Seems like my temper has gotten better recently. I didn't kill you two directly." "Wait." Cough, cough. Masa spat out another mouthful of blood. Masa was in great pain both physically and mentally. His teleportation had always been successful. But this time he was defeated by Chun Zhao. The dark lava engulfed Masa and Crumb. "My patience is running out." I'll talk. I sold information. Someone wanted to buy information on all the enhanced type spiritualists in the city, and I sold it to him, including information on Quran. Crumb looked at Masa in astonishment. He had known Masa for a few years, but he didn't know that Masa had this kind of business as well. "Who bought it?" Chun Zhao asked. "It's a black man. He's dressed very strangely. There's a very annoying aura about him." Chun Zhao raised an eyebrow. "A black man with a disgusting aura. His contact information. He showed up in front of me." "I don't have his number," Masa said. Chun Zhao looked at Masa. "Your job of selling information is a failure." Masa was crying out in pain as the dark magma continued to tighten. I'll help you find him. I'll help you find him," Masa said painfully. "Who?" The restraints on Masa and Crumb disappeared, and they were thrown onto the ground. "Good. Don't make me wait too long," Chun Zhao said. "Oh, right. Don't let Quran know about us. It's our little secret. Okay?" Crumb didn't know what to say to Masa. If it were him, if his juniors were hurt, he would do the same. He would do the same thing. But Masa was his friend too. He obviously didn't want things to become irreversible. Fortunately, Chun Zhao didn't plan on killing them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to kill him even if they had 10 lives. 3 days later. Not good. The situation wasn't good. Masa and Crumb didn't know if they didn't check, but after checking, they found out. Since the day Masa sold the information, 13 spiritualists had been attacked. On the first day, including Quran, 3 spiritualists were attacked. On the second day, 7 more were attacked. On the third day, 3 were attacked. Moreover, all the spiritualists who had been attacked had been provided by Masa. If this news were to leak out, Masa would definitely die without a complete corpse. Most of these spiritualists weren't alone. For example, Quran thought that he was a newbie, but in the end, a single person behind him could kill both of them. Masa panicked now, too. He'd been selling information for a long time, but he'd never made such a big mess. More than 10 spiritualists had been attacked. If the relatives and friends of these 10 spiritualists all came knocking on their door, then Masa would really be dead. Masa, We have to find the person who bought your information. Otherwise, the situation will really go out of control, Crumb said seriously. Crumb said solemnly. And it's been 3 days, and there's still no news. That person has a very bad temper. I know, but I have no choice. I want to find that person too. Oh, is there anyone who hasn't been attacked in the information you sold? Crumb asked. Mass's eyes brightened. Oh, I remember now. There's one more person who hasn't been attacked. Go watch that person immediately. Ms. Vestana, that guy's crazy. Are you sure you want to meet him alone? Brits asked. It's okay. Don't worry about me. Vestana glanced at the half-finished building in front of her. Let me go with you. No need. I'm more confident in persuading him alone. Brits thought for a moment. Ms. Vestana, I'll give you 30 minutes. If you don't come out in 30 minutes, I'll bring people to attack. Vestana walked in. Inside the building, Bo2 was on the first floor. Bo2 was on the first floor with Matey standing beside him. Miss, do you know what you're doing? Bo2 said in a creepy voice. Even though it was daytime, Vestana felt a chill down her spine. Mr. Bo2, I'm a normal person. I know, I can tell, Bo2 said calmly. But if I want to kill someone, it has nothing to do with whether you're a normal person or not. Mr. Bo2, you've caused quite a commotion in L.A. these days. In the African plains, a lion can eat whatever it thinks is its prey, Bo2 said. But lions have their own pride too. Otherwise, they'll also become hyenas' prey, Vestana said. Vestana said, your goal is nothing more than to find Jeff Ryder. I can give it back to you. Chapter 1775. You want a lion to be led by a sheep? Bo2 looked at her expressionlessly. Trust me, Mr. Bo Tuesday. This is your best choice. I've never been coerced. A person who doesn't know when to retreat is very stupid. Vestana was even calmer. You too. Walking in here without any preparation is your biggest mistake, Bo2 said. Are you sure I'm unprepared? Vestana smiled faintly. Are you talking about the people outside? They can't save you. Vestana was still calm. She opened her coat, and there were small bottles hanging inside. What do you think of these? Bombs. That can't hurt me. These are potassium anhydride and manganese compounds. If you don't know what they are, you can ask Mr. Matey next to you. Mr. Bo2, these things on her can blow up the whole building, Matey said in a low voice. Bo2 smiled. Very well. Is this your acknowledgement of me? I need to think about it. How long? A day, Bo2 said. I hope you won't disappoint me, Vestana said. You're very powerful, but you're not invincible. Mr. Bo2, you should know what I mean. Vestana walked out of the building. Brits immediately came up to her. Miss Vestana, that madman didn't do anything to you. No. Vestana glanced at the dice in Brits's hand. Did you calculate my luck for today before I went in? Yes. Brits looked at the dice in his hand. What's the result? Stupid decision, Brits said. Looks like your calculation isn't accurate, Vestana said with a smile. Did he agree? He will, Vestana said. Bo2 looked up at the factory in front of him. His final goal was to work in this factory. Hey, who are you looking for? A worker walked out. Hello, I'm looking for Kevin. Can you call him out? Kevin? Okay. After a while, a somewhat short worker walked out. However, this worker's figure was very refined. It felt like every muscle on his body had no excess fat. There was still some dirt on his face as he looked at Bo2 in confusion. Hello, are you looking for me? Yes, you're Kevin, right? I mean, do we know each other? I don't know him. Then why are you looking for me? You're an enhancer? You don't look like an enhancer. Kevin looked at Bo Tuesday, you too. Bo2 ignored Kevin's question and continued staring at him. Are you really an enhancer? If you don't want to say it, then forget it. I'm leaving. With that, Kevin turned around and left. But at some point, Matey was still standing behind Kevin. Do you want to fight me? Kevin looked at Matey and Bo Tuesday. There's something, but it's not convenient to say it here. Why don't we talk in our car? Matey said. But at that moment, Kevin broke into a run. Actually, Kevin had been pretending to be calm. He was a spiritualist. How could he not know what had happened in Los Angeles recently? More than 10 enhancer spiritualists had been attacked, and Kevin knew a few of them. Just now, Bo 2 kept asking if he was an enhancer, so Kevin was already secretly on guard. Matey suddenly burst out with shocking speed and charged at Kevin. He pressed down on Kevin's head and pressed him to the ground. But Kevin's body displayed a level of softness that surpassed humans. With a twist of his neck, he actually managed to twist his head away before it touched the ground. His shoulders, neck, and arms were all twisted as well. Like a mudfish, he hurriedly broke free from Matey's grasp. It's actually a soft body, Bo2 said, somewhat surprised. He didn't expect this enhancer spiritualist to have a rare soft body. Soft body was similar to yoga, but it didn't come from India. In fact, there were similar spells all over the world. There were also similar bloodlines that were very suitable for this kind of spell or magic. Kevin didn't even have time to be pleased with himself as he broke free. Suddenly, he felt his feet sink, as if he had sunk into a swamp. Just then, Matey walked over. Large amounts of black liquid seeped out his hands. Kevin could feel that his mana was rapidly draining away. "Okay, let's go," Bo2 said. The two of them left Kevin, who was already unconscious, and strode away. Before Bo2 left, he glanced in another direction. "Mr. Bo2, what's wrong?" "Nothing," Bo2 said, unconcerned. "Those people probably sent them to monitor me." "Mr. Bo2, are we really joining that organization?" "Of course not," Bo2 said. "But Jeff Ryder must return to me." In the direction Bo2 had looked at, Masa and Crumb were hiding nearby. "That guy's weird," Crumb said. "He seems to have discovered us." "Who cares? We'll just send a message to that person, and then it'll have nothing to do with us." Masa only felt that the trouble was getting worse. He just wanted to escape as soon as possible. Masa dialed the number Chun Zhao had left. "Sir, we found him. He just attacked an enhancer spiritualist." "Follow him," Chun Zhao said. "I'll go as soon as possible." "That person is too dangerous," Masa said, troubled. "Do you think I'm not dangerous enough?" Chun Zhao's tone suddenly turned cold. "Fine, we'll follow him." Masa could only bite the bullet. "He told us to follow that person." Masa and Crumb followed him out of the city. Bo2 knew that someone was following him, but he mistook it for someone sent by the psionic team to monitor him, so he didn't do anything. He was on the psionic team right now. He only wanted to get Jeff Ryder back. Thus, he allowed Crumb and Masa to follow him and didn't fight back. "There seems to be a building up ahead. That's weird. When did such a building appear here?" Crumb and Masa saw Bo2's car enter the circular building up ahead. They didn't dare to go any further. Suddenly, Masa felt a chill on his neck. A dagger appeared on his neck. "You better not move. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me to guarantee your safety." Crumb was about to transform into King Kong, but he felt a pain in his foot. A viper was coiled around his foot. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1776. Crumb felt that his magic was disappearing rapidly. His body became weaker and weaker, and he finally fell to the ground. "Aren't these two your people?" Just then, Bo2 appeared before the two, and then Masa. "I recognize you. You're the one who sold me the information." "Bring them in first," Vestana said. At the same time, she looked at Bo Tuesday. "Also, welcome, Mr. Bo Tuesday. Where's Jeff Ryder?" "He's inside." Vestana looked at Bo2 and took out a magic contract. "Mr. Bo2, why don't you sign this first? I need to confirm if Jeff Ryder is safe," Bo2 said. "Okay." Vestana brought Bo2 into the HQ and to the glass room where Jeff Ryder was locked up. All the members of the psionic team were beside him. If Bo2 tried to kidnap Jeff Ryder, they would stop him immediately. "Great." A smile appeared on Bo2's face. "Give me the contract." Bo2 pressed down his fingerprint without hesitation. "Welcome, Bo Tuesday." Vestana finally heaved a sigh of relief. "We're on the same side now." Just then, a subordinate's voice sounded in Vestana's earpiece. "Ms. Vestana, the president of the supernatural organization, is outside the HQ." "Him? What's he doing here?" Vestana frowned. Fritz tossed the dice in his hand and caught it. When he opened his hand, there was no face. This was the first time such a faceless result had happened. Fritz's expression was serious. "Everyone, get ready. Let's go welcome the president." It was Chun Zhao's first visit. All the psionic team members went out. Vestana led the way. This was different from last time when they met in public. Before, everyone had been at daggers drawn, but generally speaking, both sides had restrained themselves. But now it was different. Chun Zhao's intentions were unclear. "Hi, Mr. Chun." Vestana greeted Chun Zhao, pretending to be relaxed. "Hi, Ms. Vestana." Chun Zhao also greeted Vestana. However, Chun Zhao kept glancing at the psionic team members. "Mr. Chun, why didn't you tell us you were coming? We weren't prepared." "I can't help it. It was a spur-of-the-moment idea, so I didn't have time to inform you." Chun Zhao and Vestana exchanged pleasantries with each other. "Mr. Chun, what's the purpose of your visit?" "To find someone," Chun Zhao said. Vestana's heart skipped a beat. Could it be those two from before? Were those two from the supernatural organization? If that was the case, then he would be able to defeat him. After all, they were now minding their own business. But the people from the supernatural organization had come to the psionic team's territory, and he was caught red-handed by them. Vestana whispered a few words to her men. Then, Crumb and Masa were brought out and thrown before Chun Zhao. The two of them were as miserable as they could be, lying limply on the ground. "Mr. Chun, you're looking for them, right?" Vestana looked at him proudly. Now, she felt that the night in the desert was so wonderful, so pleasant. "They're not the people I'm looking for." Chun Zhao glanced at Crumb and Masa. Vestana was taken aback. "Not them." Chun Zhao looked down at Masa. "Where's the person I asked you to find?" Among them, it's that bald black man," Masa said weakly. Chun Zhao's gaze swept across everyone and finally landed on Bo Tuesday. Meeting Chun Zhao's gaze, Bo Tu narrowed his eyes. He could vaguely feel that Chun Zhao was here for him. "You, come out." Chun Zhao pointed at Bo Tuesday. Chun Zhao's action didn't just annoy Bo Tuesday. Everyone in the psionic team was displeased. Chun Zhao, an outsider, had actually come to their headquarters and asked for someone. Even if the psionic team had fought Bo Tu with their lives. No matter how they felt about Bo Tu now, he was at least a member of the psionic team. Vestana's expression darkened. "Mr. Chun, this isn't the supernatural organization. So what?" Chun Zhao looked at Vestana disapprovingly. "Mr. Chun, are you here for trouble? Or do you want to start a war?" Vestana's smile disappeared. She looked at Chun Zhao with a dark gaze. "If you can't give me an explanation, I can only assume that you want to start a war with us." Chun Zhao's lips curled into a smile. He took a step forward and pressed toward Vestana. "I should be the one to explain. The family of a member of the supernatural organization was attacked, and it was your people who attacked her. Now, either you hand her over, or I'll assume that you want to start a war." Vestana's expression changed again. She really didn't expect things to be like this. Bo Tu's crazy attack on spiritualists had probably happened a few days ago. According to Chun Zhao, Bo Tu was indeed in the wrong. However, Bo Tu wasn't a member of the psionic team. It was useless to explain things like this now, because Bo Tu was one of them now. So, Vestana couldn't hand Bo Tu over at all. Moreover, it was in front of everyone in the psionic team. If she handed Bo Tu over now, then the psionic team would completely fall apart. "I'll investigate this and give Mr. Chun an explanation," Vestana said. "I'm not asking you to give me an explanation," Chun Zhao said calmly. "I just want to know if you want to start a war." Vestana clenched her teeth, and her breathing became heavy. She didn't expect that recruiting Bo Tu into the psionic team would cause such trouble. She thought that Bo Tu's addition would greatly increase the psionic team's power. She didn't expect Chun Zhao to come looking for them right after. Everyone was burning with anger. At this moment, all of them were united against a common enemy. No one wanted to be useless. No one had to swallow their anger when they were bullied at their doorstep. Even Vestana was a bit furious. She glanced at Bo Tu from the corner of her eye. Bo Tu was so strong. If he worked together with the others in the psionic team, they might be able to defeat Chun Zhao. Vestana's idea became more and more unstoppable. She wanted to try. The chance was right before her. But now, the people of the supernatural organization weren't in Los Angeles. This was when Chun Zhao was alone. As long as she defeated Chun Zhao, the supernatural organization would be completely replaced by the psionic team. Should she do this? She could use this chance to challenge Chun Zhao. Vestana's breathing became heavier and heavier. Chapter 1777. Just as Vestana was about to make her decision, Bo, Tu, and Mady walked out. Ms. Vestana, don't worry. A strange smile appeared on Bo Tu's face. He turned and looked at Chen Zhao. I also want to see who gave you the courage to challenge me. Seeing Bo Tu's black water seep out of his body, everyone retreated. They didn't want to be affected by Bo Tu's black water. Chen Zhao walked toward Bo Tuesday. When he stepped into the black water, he could feel the evil in it. The black water was like dark shadow, but they weren't the same thing. Bo Tu's expression changed slightly. It was his first time encountering someone who dared to step into his fallen domain. In the past, all his enemies would choose to avoid his fallen domain. For example, when they fought just now, the psionic team would move away. Most importantly, Chen Zhao wasn't affected by the fallen domain. Suddenly, Mady disappeared. So fast, everyone was shocked. They couldn't catch Mady's figure at all. Last time, he'd only absorbed a tank's magic power and had the strength of a tank. But this time, he had such an exaggerated speed. Were they attacking spiritualists everywhere because they could turn other people's magic power into their own? And this power could be stacked on top of each other? If that was the case, it was too scary. Vestana's eyes flashed. Maybe Bo Tu and Mady could defeat Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao suddenly grabbed at the air. Mady appeared instantly, and Chen Zhao grabbed his neck. Everyone sucked in a cold breath again. Chen Zhao grabbed Mady just like that, but just when everyone thought that Mady was caught, Mady's neck suddenly shrank. Chen Zhao felt like he'd grabbed a slippery loach. His hand slipped away immediately. Mady quickly retreated. Chen Zhao looked at his palm and continued walking toward Bo Tuesday. Bo Tu's expression was serious. Mady had absorbed the magic power of more than 10 people. This magic power would only decrease and not increase. But Mady was still at his peak. Even in this state, Mady couldn't fight Chen Zhao head-on. Voodoo Bee Swarm. Bo Tu quickly cast a spell. For the black water, swarms of black bees began to fly out. When the others saw the swarm of black bees, their expressions changed. Bo Tu hadn't used this trick on them that day. The number of black wasps grew larger and larger. Gradually, it felt like the black wasps had turned into a dark cloud. Bo Tu pointed at Chen Zhao. The black cloud formed by the black bees immediately surged toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao suddenly opened his mouth and started inhaling. The bees were sucked into his mouth uncontrollably. His stomach was like a bottomless pit, until the black hornet swarm was completely sucked dry. In the end, Chen Zhao chewed. It tastes good raw too. Everyone's expression changed again. Just then, Mady appeared behind Chen Zhao. Pung! Chen Zhao turned around and punched. Mady's body froze. His head had already been smashed. Everyone's expression changed. In their eyes, Mady was already strong enough, but he couldn't even block a single move. Bo Tu instinctively wanted to escape. However, Chen Zhao saw through Bo Tu's intentions and instantly appeared before him. The psionic team members couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat, because Chen Zhao was faster than Mady. At least Mady could still catch his trajectory. But Chen Zhao didn't even have a shadow. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before Bo Tuesday. Bo Tu paled. Chen Zhao had already reached out and grabbed Bo Tu's shoulder. "You're much weaker than I thought." Bo Tu's fallen domain suddenly surged and rolled back from all directions, as if it was going to wrap around Chen Zhao. But the next moment, Chen Zhao released dark lava under his feet. Be it in terms of level or quantity, the dark lava had an absolute advantage. If Chen Zhao released it completely, the entire psionic team's headquarters would be swallowed by the dark lava. The dark lava swallowed Bo Tu's fallen domain directly. The expressions of Bo Tu and the psionic team froze. They'd thought that it would be a fierce battle, but the battle was one-sided. In the battle a few days ago, Bo Tu and the psionic team hadn't started an all-out battle, but they were at least evenly matched. But today, Mady was far more powerful than before. But against Chen Zhao, he was in a hopeless situation. "I've swallowed other people's mana before." Chen Zhao smiled. But in Bo Tu's eyes, Chen Zhao's smile was as terrifying as a demon's. But every time I swallow someone's flesh, I get sick, Chen Zhao said. But that won't be a problem with my dark lava devour. Plus, your magic is compatible with my dark lava. They're both dark powers. The next moment, the dark lava suddenly poured into Bo Tu's mouth, nose, and ears. At the start, Bo Tu struggled violently, but it didn't last long. Bo Tu's limbs lost their strength. Chen Zhao casually threw Bo Tu into the dark lava. Bo Tu slowly sank into the dark lava and disappeared in the end. The dark lava quickly gathered under Chen Zhao's feet. In the end, it was completely collected. Chen Zhao turned to look at Vestana. Ms. Vestana, thank you for your cooperation. I hope that the supernatural organization and the psionic team can remain friends forever. Vestana's expression was extremely dark. She couldn't even give a perfunctory smile, because Chen Zhao had killed Bo Tu in front of everyone, even if Bo Tu stood out first. But Bo Tu was also a member of the psionic team. Chen Zhao had dealt a heavy blow to the unity of the psionic team. At the same time, he dealt a blow to her prestige. If there's nothing else, please leave, Vestana said with a dark expression. Chen Zhao looked at Vestana. I still want Jeff Ryder. Vestana was instantly enraged. I can't give Jeff Ryder to you. He's a criminal. Even if Jeff Ryder wasn't important, she didn't want to cooperate with Chen Zhao anymore. I know he's a criminal. Oh, right, I caught him myself. Chen Zhao smiled at Vestana. If you think I don't have the right to take him away, you can ask the victim. See if he favors you or me. Mr. Chen, don't you think you're going overboard? Blitz walked up and looked at Chen Zhao. Here comes another one. Chen Zhao looked at Blitz. Before you accuse me of going overboard, you better wash your own, but if there's a next time, I'll think without hesitation that you want to start a war. Chapter 1778. What a joke. They were enemies to begin with. Was Chen Zhao going to give them face? In the face of a group of people who were scheming to make him their enemy. Chen Zhao really wanted to kill them all. So, Chen Zhao would go as far as he could. If he could really provoke them and make them take the initiative to attack him. Chen Zhao wouldn't even give them a chance to breathe. If you're not willing to send me out, I can go in myself. Release him. Vestana gritted her teeth and roared. It was not hard to imagine how bad Vestana was feeling right now. But at the same time, she was glad that she didn't act rashly just now. Given the power Chen Zhao had displayed just now, killing Bo Tu did not take much effort at all. He had the strength to fight against them. If she hadn't been able to control herself just now, the psionic team might have ended here. This time, no one objected to Vestana. Chen Zhao's display of power also shocked them. Not everyone has the courage to face death. Of course, most of them were rational. On one hand, Bo Tu wasn't one of them. They didn't want to fight Chen Zhao to the death, for Bo Tuesday Jeff Ryder was sent to Chen Zhao. Where's Mr. Bo Tu? Where's Mr. Bado? Where did he go? Why you? Bo Tu had clearly come just now. Why did he leave again? Jeff Ryder shouted uncontrollably. Chen Zhao ignored Jeff Ryder's shouts. He dragged him away, but after 2 steps, he dragged Crumb and Masa away as well. What's wrong with you two? We've all been poisoned by the magic viper. We can't recover our magic power. Chen Zhao was too lazy to detoxify them. It would only take a couple of days anyway. The demonic viper was not fatal, at least not to a spiritualist. If an ordinary person was bitten by a demonic viper, they would still die. However, spiritualists would only lose their magic power. After 2 or 3 days, the body would develop antibodies, and the demonic horn snake's venom would be detoxified. You guys rest in the car. Chen Zhao tossed Crumb and Masa in the car and turned to Jeff Ryder. Jeff Ryder started yelling again. He still couldn't accept reality. Suddenly, Chen Zhao carried Jeff Ryder and rose into the sky. Jeff Ryder was so scared that he was speechless. Flying? Flying, this person can fly? 10,000 meters, 12,000 meters, 15,000 meters, 20,000 meters. Jeff Ryder was having difficulty breathing. 20,000 meters was basically the limit of what humans could do without equipment. Speaking of which, Jeff Ryder's body was still in good shape. Most people would not be able to withstand it at 15,000 meters. Chen Zhao suddenly let go. Jeff Ryder fell down uncontrollably. Of course, at an altitude of 20,000 meters, the speed of falling was still greatly affected by air resistance, so the speed was not considered fast. The lower the altitude, the greater the effect of gravity. You have about 3 minutes to answer my question. If you don't answer my question in 3 minutes, you'll die. Understand? Chun Zhao was also descending rapidly. Save me. Save me. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Where's Lothiel? Dead. He's dead. He's long dead. Then what's with the feeling in your body? I don't know. It's Boda's magic. It's his magic. He said I replaced Low Hill. What do you mean? I don't understand. I don't know either. I really don't know. Boda told me to eat Low Hill. You ate Low Hill? It's Bo too who forced me. He forced me. Chun Zhao only felt nauseous. However, Jeff Ryder's answer still did not explain the disgusting feeling in his body. Just as he was about to fall, Chun Zhao slowed down Jeff's fall and saved his life. But Jeff Ryder could no longer stand up. His eyes had lost focus and his mouth was open, drool flowing out. Chun Zhao realized that Jeff Ryder's soul was damaged. Part of his soul had left his body. Scared out of his wits, however, this guy deserved it. Even if he was fine, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander would not let him go. Of course, from Chun Zhao's interaction with Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, he could tell that the old woman was not as kind as she looked. The old woman was not as benevolent as she looked. Even if Jeff Ryder was scared out of his wits, he might not be able to win Ellie Rodriguez Alexander's sympathy. On top of that, Ellie Rodriguez Alexander might even think that Jeff Ryder was pretending to be crazy. After all, if Chun Zhao could not see the nature of the soul, he might also suspect that Jeff Ryder was pretending. Chun Zhao tossed Jeff Ryder into the trunk. He did not care if he would suffocate him to death. Where do you two get off? After sending Crumb and Masa to their house, Chun Zhao left without a second thought. Then, Chun Zhao left Jeff Ryder at the entrance of the police station and called David. Chun Zhao was still thinking about the annoying spell. Be it Jeff Ryder or Bo too, both of them had that annoying vibe. Chun Zhao decided to call Zhang Tianyi again. Old Zhang, it's me, Chun Zhao. Do you know what time it is in China? Chun Zhao looked at the time. It should be morning. You should be up by now, right? I usually sleep until late in the morning. I'm old and can't compare to you young people. I'll sleep in. Don't talk about age. I can go 10 days and 10 nights without sleep. With your cultivation, you're probably going to abstain from eating, right? Can an old man like me compare to you? Although Zhang Tianyi's cultivation wasn't as good as Chun Zhao's, he could still see the world. Chun Zhao did not believe that he would have the mental problems of an old man. Tell me, what is it? Zhang Tianyi's tone changed, and he suddenly got to the point. Remember what I told you a few days ago? He's annoying. I caught him today, and he said that someone cast some kind of magic on him. Then, he ate a living person, saying that he wanted to replace the meaning of his existence. Wait, you're saying that guy ate a living person? Yes. I think I know. I've never seen it, but I suddenly understand after hearing your description. What exactly is going on? Actually, that guy ate the karma of that unlucky guy and gave up his identity as a human. As for the annoying feeling you mentioned, it's actually this sense of dislocation. It's like a burly man wearing a woman's clothes. Not really. Nowadays, a lot of men look good in women's clothes. Chapter 1779. I've been watching traps recently too, Zhang Tianyi said. Chun Zhao felt like he'd heard a huge secret. Forget it, Zhang Tianyi said seriously. Let's get back to business. I never changed the topic. You're the one who suddenly talked about traps. Ahem. To be honest, there's nothing special about this spell. It's a spell that steals other people's karma. It sounds awesome, but it's actually a disguise. It can't fool anyone. If it's someone you haven't seen for years, you might be able to trick them with a faint shadow of the victim. But if it's someone the victim or the murderer is familiar with, it can't be hidden at all. Chun Zhao nodded. Ellie Rodriguez Alexander, who Jeff Ryder had lied to, hadn't seen her grandson for 20 years. Jeff Ryder's family or classmates could tell his original identity. So this spell was indeed useless. Chun Zhao felt that if he had the time, he might as well make his face look like Low Hill. Perhaps the success rate would be higher. Of course, Bo Tu was already dead, and Jeff Ryder deserved to die too. If Ellie Rodriguez Alexander knew that her grandson was eaten by Jeff Ryder, she would definitely be shocked. Chen Zhao wondered how Ellie Rodriguez would deal with Jeff Ryder. Oh, did you know that Tamamo no Mei came to China a while ago? And then she ran away, of course. Fuck, that little vixen captured the hearts of many boys and girls. Her performance was horrible. You saw it. I'm looking at it critically. Did she leave by herself? No, she was chased away. There's someone capable in China. Our country is vast, and there are countless hermit experts. What's so difficult about chasing away a little vixen? By the way, are there really hidden masters in China? I don't know, Zhang Tianyi said disapprovingly. But no matter how strong they are, they can't be higher than you. You're really a weirdo, but you do have a lot of treasures. It shouldn't be a problem to kill one or two little vixens. Chen Zhao remembered Zhang Tianyi's words. If they could kill Tamamo no Mei, they could probably kill him too. Since Huaxia had it, other countries might have it too. Since Japan had 3 divine weapons, the other countries might also have 1 or 2 divine weapons if they pooled their resources together. When are you free to come to America again? I'll treat you to a meal. I'll never go to America again. I've calculated my fate. I won't leave Huaxia before I die. So if you want to see me again, come back. We'll talk about it in the future. Chen Zhao sighed. Young man, if you don't get rid of your worries, your cultivation won't be refined. Don't talk nonsense. I don't believe that mental illness can affect one's cultivation. Ha! Your willpower is quite strong. Looks like this is useless against you. By the way, when you're at the end of your lifespan, do you want to learn from the 23rd generation Blood Mary and come up with a Longhu mission or something like that? Or do you want to take the treasure of the Celestial Master Sect of Longhu Mountain and hold a martial arts circle convention? Get lost. If I organize a martial arts tournament, it might just be for you. Do you think I'm stupid? Besides, I can still live for another 20 to 30 years. No matter what, I'll live longer than Blood Mary. Zhang Tianyi scolded with a smile. Plus, I don't see you being that enthusiastic about Blood Mary's Scarlet Mission. Zhang Tianyi might be in China, but he had connections and spies. The supernatural organization probably wouldn't be able to escape his eyes no matter what they did. The missions are too scattered and there are too many. Plus, her so-called reward is meaningless to me. I'm not interested at all. That's true. The Scarlet Church has a lot of good stuff, but she can't bear to take out the real good stuff. Forget it. I'll go back to sleep. Norway, deep in the forest, how long will the fog take to disperse? Gaia asked. There's no wind here all year round. The fog lasts for more than 10 days every time. The person who answered Gaia's question was a local spiritualist guide called Derlin. Other than being a spiritualist, Derlin was also a university professor. It was very easy to get lost and get separated in the fog. Of course, so far, the team was still intact. Everyone was equipped with a Saturn AV watch. Other than positioning, the Saturn AV watch could also send out distress signals and find out the location and distance between each other. But everyone could feel that Derlin seemed to be looking down on them, because they were from North America. Also because along the way, they had been using the equipment they brought with them to solve problems. They didn't use the spiritualist method to solve problems. In addition, the way this group of people worked together was too strange. Klaus and a lightning squad were obviously normal people. All of them were equipped with firearms and explosives. Of course, Derlin didn't really expect to find the legendary Nordic giants. Strangely enough, there were so many mountain spirits and wild monsters in the Norwegian forest. But after so many days, they didn't even meet one. It had to be said that the luck of this group of people was extremely bad. Of course, it could also be said that Derlin's luck was extremely good. Since they didn't meet those mountain spirits and wild monsters, Derlin was also happy. Anyway, he just brought them around the forest. When they got bored, they would leave the forest. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of them. This group and more than 10 people were supporting each other. It looked like they had just experienced a huge battle not long ago. Almost everyone was injured. The two groups of people faced each other. They were a little surprised to meet each other. Demas, what happened to you? Derlin recognized one of them. Demas was a Norwegian spiritualist like him. But looking at Demas's current appearance, he was in a very sorry state. His body and face were stained with blood and dirt. His injuries were the heaviest among the group. Derlin, don't go forward. Ahead is the territory of a group of withered tree ghosts. We accidentally entered their territory, and 20 people died. Demas said in pain. Withered tree ghosts were said to be people who got lost in the forest. They sat under a withered tree and finally became one with it. In fact, withered tree ghosts were not evil spirits, but mountain spirits. In Northern Europe, this generation had discovered that they had the habit of living in groups. Are there a lot of them? Derlin asked with a frown. Very many, I can't count. Demas said. Chapter 1780. Doring turned to look at West and the others worriedly. In fact, he was already overjoyed inside. They could finally leave this cold and damp forest. No one liked to wander in a dense forest like this. The environment here was very painful. There were almost no dry branches here. There was no way to start a fire. They ate compressed food every day. The only motivation for Doring to continue being a guide was the rather high pay. These Americans didn't have any other skills, but they didn't hold back when it came to paying. Now, Demas said there was danger ahead. Doring could take this chance to persuade them to turn back. Withered wood ghosts? They have a kind of withered wood essence. It's a very rare alchemy material, Rowan Faxburn said. Then let's go take a look, West said. At the same time, he looked at Demas. Sir, which direction did you find the withered wood ghosts? Are you sure you want to go? Demas looked at West in surprise. Those withered wood ghosts are very fierce. As long as you enter their territory, they will attack you. Dellen's face was also filled with shock. Friends, let's not take the risk. The withered tree ghosts are extremely terrifying. Look at these people. They have already suffered heavy casualties. Why should we go and ask for more trouble? West glanced at Doring. We don't need you to do anything. You just need to show us the way. Doring was speechless. He could only lead the way. But after a short while, Doring suddenly lost control and exploded. I'm not going. Doring immediately refused loudly. I won't go. You're asking for death. Everyone looked at Dellen with a faint smile on their faces. Mr. Doring, we're not asking for your opinion or suggestion, West said calmly. If you don't want to accept our offer, then refund us the fee, West said calmly. I can refund you, but only after we leave the forest, Doring said. Although he didn't really want a refund. As long as he left the forest, he could find enough friends to support him outside the forest. This was Norway, his home ground. These Americans dared to fall out with him here. Unfortunately, West knew Doring's thoughts like the back of his hand. With just a glance at Dellen, West knew what he was about to fart. Mr. Doring, I want my money back right now. But how could I have $200,000 on me? This is your problem. You guys are making things difficult for us. Dellen angrily criticized them, forcing me to do something I can't. We hired you for a month and paid you in full in advance. You brought us deep into the forest, and now you want to back out. Are we the ones forcing you, or are you the one forcing us? West sneered. That's right, but you know that there's danger, yet you're still heading in that direction. If you want to die, I won't accompany you to your deaths. Our goal this time is to find the Nordic giants. Aren't the Nordic giants more dangerous than the Deadwood ghouls? Before you accepted our employment, you should have been prepared to face danger. Now, you actually want to quit because of the danger. West stared coldly at Dellen. At this moment, Dellen's head was suddenly pressed against something hard. Immediately, Dellen broke out in a cold sweat. At some point, Klaus had appeared behind Dellen and was pressing the Desert Eagle against the back of Dellen's head. What will you want? Return the money to us now, and we'll let you go. Or lead the way obediently, West said calmly. I swear, after I get out, I'll return the money as soon as I can. West shook his head. None of US will follow you out of the forest. You can only return the money now. I understand. I'll continue to cooperate with you. Dellen finally compromised. He had no choice. After all, he didn't practice Iron Head on the back of his head. But he was even more dissatisfied with these Americans. But in the eyes of the supernatural organization, taking money to do things was a matter of course. This was the right thing to do. When they first worked together, Dellen had bragged about how professional he was. That was why they chose Dylan. They didn't need Dylan to be talented in magic. They just wanted someone who could lead the way. But Dylan had quit halfway. No one will be happy. After walking for more than an hour, the sky was getting dark. Dylan glanced at West and the others. Mr. West, it's getting late. Shouldn't we rest here? Keep walking, Ruan Fazabin said. The Witheredwood ghosts are more active at night. The people from the supernatural organization never knew how to be considerate. Dylan thought they were crazy. They knew that the Witheredwood ghosts were hard to deal with, but they still wanted to find them at night. Wasn't that asking for death? I can't walk anymore. Let's rest here, Lisa said. Lisa said she was the youngest and had the weakest physical strength. Then let's rest here, Gaius said. Fazabin, if you want to find the Witheredwood ghosts, bring a few people with you. Who want to see them? West asked. I won't go, Gaius said. I'll go, Ungalit said. Me too. A few people volunteered. In the end, Ungalit, Morid, Jalanash, and Ruan Fazabin chose to continue. Dylan heaved a sigh of relief. He finally stopped advancing, but he felt that these people were afraid. The so-called few people who were going were most likely going to take a stroll in the vicinity. They started setting up tents. Gaia tried to start a fire. Unfortunately, it was still a failure. The humidity here was too high. The broken branches and leaves on the ground were also damp. There was no way to start a fire. Of course, Gaia didn't need it. However, not everyone didn't need it. It was early October, but the temperature here was always below 10 degrees. In winter, it would be even colder. The president should come, Wes said emotionally. Wes sighed. The president knows how to enjoy life. If he were here, we wouldn't have to suffer so much. Gaia rolled her eyes. If Chin came, it would be meaningless. Everyone knew this. West was just mocking himself. Facing such a harsh environment was also a test for them. The giants in Norse mythology were famous. But in terms of strength, they were far weaker than the Japanese demon, Tamamo. Chun Zhao was able to hold his own against such a powerful demon. The Nordic giant probably couldn't last more than a few rounds against Chun Zhao. Chapter 1781. Derlin was thinking about finding a chance to escape. Anyway, it definitely had an advantage in the terrain here. Moreover, the fog in the forest didn't disperse. Derlin sat under a tree and observed everyone in the camp. He didn't know when the four who'd gone to find the Deadwood ghosts would return. It would be best if they really went to find the Deadwood ghosts. Then they wouldn't be able to return. Out of the 30 or so people that Dimas had brought, only 20 were left in the Deadwood ghost territory. If the four really went to the Deadwood ghost territory, they definitely wouldn't be able to return. Derlin saw Gaia sitting on a high slope not far away. West, on the other hand, was talking to someone. President, we didn't encounter any trouble, West said. The environment here is a bit bad, but they didn't have much trouble. He tried his best to convince Chan Zhao not to come over. Tell Ungalit that I've taken care of his son. Tell him not to worry. West didn't think that he needed to say anything. Ungalit didn't take it to heart at all. Suddenly, a thunderous boom came from not far away from the camp. West jumped in fright. What happened? West, what's the matter? It's nothing. It seems like something attacked our campsite. West looked in the direction of the loud noise. The people from the association and the campsite all looked calm and collected. Even Derlin stood up abruptly. He'd already been a bit disloyal. When he heard the boom, he shuddered like he'd done something wrong. Gaia, go and see what happened. Gaia stood up and walked around the camp. There was a huge hole in the ground. Smoke was still coming out of it, but there was nothing else. Klaus also came to the scene. He paced around the hole twice. He picked up the slightly warm stone on the ground and sniffed it. It's not a gunpowder explosion, Klaus said. I don't feel any magic left here either, Gaius said. Then what kind of attack made such a huge hole? I don't know yet. Just then, dark clouds covered the sky. In the blink of an eye, lightning flashed and thunder roared. There seemed to be something moving in the thunderclouds. Boom! As the lightning flashed and thunder roared, a huge body flashed through the clouds. Wow! Giant! It's a giant! Gaia and Klaus were not the only ones who saw it. Many people in the camp saw the huge body. The figure appeared as the lightning streaked across the sky. After the lightning disappeared, they disappeared together. Although it was only for a moment, it allowed people to clearly see his silhouette. It was a giant with a huge body. That was definitely a giant from Norse mythology. However, that body was too big. It was as tall as a mountain. Derlin shuddered. He had also seen the scene in that instant. There really were giants. Giants really existed. In fact, in the forests of northern Europe, there were many giant humanoid species, like a cyclops, like a mountain lion, or an ogre. They were all humanoid creatures, and they were tall. However, compared to the true legendary giants, it was not even worth mentioning. In Norse mythology, giants were the enemies of the gods of Odin. During the twilight of the Lord God, the giants were led by the evil god Loki and launched a war against the gods. If they were at the level of the mountain spirits and wild monsters, it was obviously impossible for them to be the main force in attacking the god race. And it was even more impossible for them to trigger the twilight of the gods. In the Norse region, people also strongly believed in fate and cause and effect. In Norse mythology, Odin knew that the twilight of the gods was triggered by the giants. Therefore, he started to chase the giants. However, in the end, because of Odin's chase, the giants attacked the gods of Odin. This was cause and effect, so it was not a product of Buddhism. Actually, this kind of cause and effect existed in many religions. Everyone looked at each other, shocked by the giant that had suddenly appeared and disappeared. "President, I think we found the giant," West said. "Found it? Do you have a picture?" Chun Zhao was instantly interested. "No," West said. "The giant only saw his silhouette in the instant of the lightning and then disappeared." Chun Zhao felt that it was a pity. It was more like the legendary giants. Everyone wanted to chase after the giant, but the giant came and went without a trace. There was no way to chase after him. After hanging up, West looked at Derlin. Derlin's body froze instantly. "Mr. Derlin, where are you going?" "I want to go to the bathroom." "Is that so? Then why are you carrying so many bags?" West sneered at Derlin. "Mr. West, I don't want to die with you. As you can see, that giant is impossible to defeat. No one could defeat such a huge monster. I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible. If that giant attacks you, all he needs to do is stomp you into the ground." Derlin was a psychic, but he was not a warrior. "It doesn't matter if we can beat the giants or not. That's our problem," West said calmly. Their goal was never to complete the Scarlet Red mission. Their mission was to experience and train. Completing the mission was secondary. Now that they had a lead on this mission, it was even more impossible for them to leave. If they saw a giant, they would immediately run away. Then they wouldn't be able to face Chun Zhao again. When he came, he swore that he didn't need Chun Zhao to accompany him. In the end, he fled back with his tail between his legs. "Mr. Doring, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. But you have to leave everything you have with you as collateral." Derlin's expression froze. Wes was obviously making things difficult for him. They had been walking here for a few days. Without these things, he basically couldn't walk out of the forest alive. Even if he knew magic, it was useless. He couldn't fly, including your clothes. Wes didn't care about leaving a way out. He wasn't familiar with Derlin, and he wasn't from Northern Europe either. If Derlin left them in the deep mountains and ran away on his own, that would be the case. Wes would bury him deep in the mountains. "I'm not leaving," Derlin said angrily. "I'm not leaving, okay." He returned to the camp dejectedly. At this time, the sky had already turned dark, and it was raining at the same time. Doring shivered and hid in the tent. Suddenly, Derlin heard a commotion outside. Derlin stuck his head out of the tent and looked. It turned out that Ruan Faxben, an elite, Jalanash, and Morid had returned. Seeing that the four were unharmed, Derlin thought to himself, "It's just as I guessed." The four of them just strolled around the area. Chapter 1782. The four of them had just fought a great battle, so they were a little tired. Although they were a little tired, they were still excited and gathered together to discuss. In the depths of the withered tree ghoul's territory, there's a huge withered tree ghoul. We didn't dare to go in. There are too many of them, tens of thousands. Unless the president comes personally, there's no way to clear them out, Ruan Faxben said. The four of us killed hundreds of withered tree ghouls outside, but they have some intelligence. They knew we weren't to be trifled with, so they retreated and opened up a path for us to come out. Morad's saliva flew everywhere as he spoke. This is the withered tree essence we brought back. Jalanash took out a bag filled with green beads. They looked very beautiful. We saw giants today, the legendary Nordic giants. Dylan glanced at them and then retracted his head. Hey, Demas, after you go out, help me contact some people. You're in trouble. Yes, the people you saw today. Recently, many Norwegian spiritualists have become guides for spiritualists from outside. It'll be difficult to find enough people. Sacred Flame Sect is fine too, Dylan said in a low voice. Sacred Flame Sect? Are you sure you wanted to contact them? They're a bunch of lunatics. Yes, I'm sure. These damn Americans, they dare to threaten me. Don't they know where they are? I have money, and I believe that these Americans have money too. The Sacred Flame Sect was active in Norway. This sect came from Central Asia. It had a famous predecessor, the Fire Worship Sect. But after spreading here, it formed its own group. In this era, the Fire Worship Sect, which used to be a little extreme, had now undergone a reform to conform to the requirements of this era and the various governments. Therefore, the current Fire Worship Sect's teachings were more in line with the requirements of the various governments. But the Sacred Flame Sect didn't learn the good side of the Fire Worship Sect, but they learned all the old customs of the Fire Worship Sect. And it didn't seem to change at all. In fact, the current Sacred Flame Sect was already controlled by some people. As the beneficiaries, they naturally didn't want to change the existing rules. Therefore, in Europe, the Sacred Flame Sect was notorious. Some evil spiritualists also relied on the Sacred Flame Sect to commit crimes. However, there were only a few strongholds in Northern Europe. Meanwhile, Eastern Europe was where the Sacred Flame Sect was the most rampant. This was in line with the laws of modern society. The more stable a society was, the fewer gangs and cults there were, and vice versa. I'll ask you one last time. Are you sure you want to look for the Sacred Flame Sect? This could kill someone. I know. Derlin had already made up his mind. If these Americans didn't die, they would most likely kill him. Rather than that, he might as well kill them. Did these Americans think that they could do nothing to him just because he was in their hands? How naive. Karan, you have to go to class. Mr. Chen already said that you're fine. You can't continue skipping classes, Amy said seriously. No, I'm not playing truant. I've already asked the school for a week off. Are you going to stay at home and do nothing for the whole week? Your school must be crazy to actually give you a week off. Actually, Mr. Chun helped me get the principal to sign the leave slip, Karan said. Amy was speechless. She picked up the phone. Hey, Mr. Chun, Karan hasn't been to school for a few days. I think you can help me talk to him. Fine, give the phone to Karan. Karan took the phone and compromised after a few seconds. Karan returned the phone to Amy. Fine, I'll go to school tomorrow. Just then, Ceylon returned home covered in dirt. Amy and Karan froze. Ceylon seemed to have been bullied at school. Her entire body was covered in dye. Her face, body, and hands were all covered in it. Even her hair was curled up and covered in sticky dye. Amy and Karan quickly pulled Ceylon back. Ceylon, what's wrong? Mom, they called me an evil witch. I fought with them, Ceylon said. Karan raised an eyebrow, his expression unnatural. Amy was furious. Did this happen in your school? Ceylon nodded. Amy gritted her teeth. Why'd they call you that? Because I wanted to show them my newly discovered ability. Ceylon pointed with her finger. A ball of flame rose from her fingertip. Amy was scared and quickly stepped back, looking at Ceylon in horror. Ceylon, put away. What are you doing? Karan quickly called. Amy turned to look at Karan in surprise. She didn't seem surprised to find her son at all, as if he had already discovered Ceylon's ability. Amy didn't know what to do. She was just an ordinary housewife. She had never faced this kind of situation. It was already beyond her ability to handle. Ceylon, this is magic, right? Brother, does this count as magic? Ceylon turned to look at her brother. Karan turned to look at his mother. He didn't know how to answer this question. Should he continue to hide it from his mother? Or just tell the truth? Dad can too. Brother can too. Oh yes, Uncle Chun can too. A certain nerve in Amy's brain suddenly connected. She recalled certain scenes in her mind. Ceylon, when did you learn it? Mom, shut up. Amy suddenly glared at Karan fiercely. Karan could only back away. Last time I was sick, Uncle Chun cured me. Then Uncle Chun, Dad, brother, sister, Uncle, Annie, and Grandpa West all know it. They say I'm the third night or something. Amy took a deep breath. She picked up her phone and called Chun Zhao again. Mr. Chun, can you come to my house? Ceylon might have a problem. Okay, I'll go now. Chun Zhao used half an hour to get there. Chun Zhao knocked on the door. When Kalan opened the door, he whispered to Chun Zhao, Mom knows. Knows what? Amy had her hands on Sealand's shoulders. She stood at the door and looked at Chun Zhao. Hi, Amy. Chun Zhao suddenly regretted it. He should have found an excuse. Shouldn't an elite be the one to talk to his wife? Why did he have to get involved in this? What a headache. Chapter 1783. Mr. Chun, I want to know why my daughter has superpowers. Chun Zhao had hoped that it was something else, but it seemed like he'd been overthinking. But in the end, Amy didn't plan on beating around the bush. She went straight to the point. Chun Zhao didn't know how to respond. Do you want to hear the truth or a lie? What do you think? Amy stared at Chun Zhao aggressively. Amy's sudden attack didn't give Chun Zhao a chance to dodge. Actually, it's not a superpower, Chun Zhao said helplessly. Of course, it's fine if you treat it as a superpower. It's more or less the same. I want to know the details. Ceylon, Kalan, and elite. Amy, first you have to know that there are ghosts and demons in this world, Chun Zhao said. Ghosts? I thought this was the plot of X-Men, but what you're saying now reminds me of the plot of Hell Detective. AI me could still joke around, which meant she wasn't in a bad mood. In fact, AI me was angry because she was the last person in the family to know about it. Huh, Amy, you're funny. You think I'm joking? Amy looked at Chun Zhao coldly. Is that a problem? Of course. DC Comics have always been dark. Chun Zhao suddenly didn't know how to continue. But reality has nothing to do with comics. Fine, continue, Amy said. There are souls and demons in this world. Of course, there are people who fight them. Spiritualists are like that. Of course, different countries have different names for them, Chun Zhao said. Your daughter is a witch, Chun Zhao said. It's more likely that she inherited her bloodline from you. Me? But I'm a normal person. There's a type of person who's a hidden spiritualist. In fact, every witch is a hidden spiritualist before they awaken. The only difference is whether they awaken or not. You mean to say that I might be able to master magic? It's a very dangerous process, Chun Zhao said. Amy, do you remember that after you and an elite fought last time, Ceylon was hospitalized in a coma? Under normal circumstances, she would have died. AI Mi's heart trembled. She had no idea that the situation would be so dangerous at that time. I can solve most problems, Chun Zhao said, but I can't guarantee that I can save people every time. I'm sorry, Mr. Chun. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. Amy suddenly felt grateful. That's not a problem. Chun Zhao shook his head. Colin's bloodline comes from his father. His ancestor might be a demon or some special existence, so he inherited some of his ancestors' abilities. However, male awakenings are more common and less dangerous. Of course, what happens in movies and horror movies won't happen in reality. There's no hunting for superpowers, and there's no so-called discrimination or prejudice. Amy looked at Kellen. Kellen, what superpowers do you have? Mom, Mr. Chun said it's not a superpower. Cut the crap. Let me take a look. But Colin looked at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao had already turned his head away, ignoring Colin's doubts. How he decides is his business. It has nothing to do with me. This place is too small, Colin said. Let's go somewhere more secluded, Chun Zhao said. There was a secluded park nearby. After everyone arrived at the park, Colin started to show off his abilities. Speed. When Colin ran through the entire park at his fastest speed, AI Me was still shocked. It was different from Ceylon's, which only used her finger to light a fire. It looked like magic. But Colin's speed was already shocking to AI Me. Mr. Chun, what about you? What ability do you have? I'm a strength-enhanced type. I'm really strong. How strong? Really strong, Chun Zhao said. I can lift a car. Looking at Amy's expectant eyes, Chun Zhao wasn't sure if he should perform a performance of catching a car with his bare hands. Is Angelite's job dangerous? Amy asked. It's a bit dangerous, but I'll try my best to ensure everyone's safety. Of course, I'll also ensure the safety of the members' families. Since he'd already said it out loud, Chun Zhao couldn't keep hiding it anymore. Was it not dangerous to tell Amy that there was no such thing? That would be irresponsible to her family. Did Kalon get attacked last time when he fainted? No. Chun Zhao hurriedly said before Kalon could. Actually, Kalon had just obtained his bloodline ability. His body hasn't caught up yet, so he's malnourished. Hearing this, Amy heaved a sigh of relief. What does an elite usually do for his missions? Deal with supernatural incidents, such as haunted houses. An elite or other people have to deal with them. What about his business trip to Norway? Something like that, Chun Zhao said. I'll try to reduce his business trips in the future. No, I don't want to be a hindrance to his work. I can tell that he likes his job. In that case, I'll support him. Amy's gaze was gentle after Ung Elite got rid of the last barrier. After Ung Elite removed the last barrier, Amy became more rational. Mom, can I join the supernatural organization? I want to. No, Chun Zhao interrupted. Without Angelite's permission, family members can't join, Chun Zhao said quickly. After all, it's dangerous. Mr. Chun, what? Chun Zhao glared at Kalon. I haven't even settled the score with you yet. Mr. Chun, is there anything wrong with Ceylon? I need to make her understand one thing, Chun Zhao said. This ability isn't unique, but it's best not to use it in front of normal people. As for her school problems, I'll take care of it. But Ceylon isn't a normal child. Chun Zhao thought for a moment. That depends on your and Angelite's choice. If you want Ceylon to be a normal person, then maintain the status quo. If you want her to enter the supernatural world, then start teaching her magic now. To be honest, Ceylon is very talented. There might not even be 1 in 10 million people like her. She's that talented? Amy asked in surprise. Even more so than Kalon. Chun Zhao glanced at Kalon. He's the lowest level. If Ceylon has systematic teaching and guidance, she might become one of the strongest people in the world in the future. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't say that for sure. After all, talent was one thing, and progress was another. Chapter 1784. It's not a bad thing to be a spiritualist, Chun Zhao said. Actually, there are some spiritualists around us. They live normal lives too. Let me think about it, Amy said. Tell me about Ung Elite. Chun Zhao avoided the part about Angelite's broken arm. He emphasized how Ung Elite subdued demons and monsters. Colin's eyes lit up as he listened. He felt that his father was living the life he wanted. Just like a secret agent, he used the identity of an ordinary employee to hide his true identity. He wanted that kind of life too. But there were 3 mountains in front of him: his parents and Chun Zhao. If they didn't agree, he wouldn't be able to join the supernatural organization. Mr. Chun, is your family spiritualist too? Not all of them, Chun Zhao said. My daughter experienced life and death on the day she was born. Will you let her become a spiritualist? Of course. Why not? Fate chose her, so there's no need to run away. Also, becoming a spiritualist doesn't mean you have to fight. Having abilities that others don't might not be a bad thing. Amy thought about it. It was true. She even hoped that she could become a spiritualist too. Of course, she also knew that she couldn't force it. This society is actually very dangerous. I've lived in China for 25 years, and I've never seen a gun in real life. But in the half a year I've been in LA, I've experienced 5 shootings, 1 bank robbery, and 2 kidnappings. If I didn't have special abilities, I'd probably be dead already. Can you avoid shootings with these abilities? Shootings happen randomly. No one can predict it. Of course, if Ceylon could learn and practice divination magic, she might be able to avoid these hidden dangers. Also, take Corin for example. With his speed, a normal person with a gun would not be able to hit him at all. Then, Chun Zhao sent Amy's family back. He didn't call Ung Elite. He believed that Amy would definitely call him. As for how they would talk, that was their family's business. This kind of trouble should be dealt with by themselves. The next day, After Feilai went to work, Chun Zhao took the two kids and Portia to the headquarters of the organization. Portia didn't know why Chun Zhao was here. There was only one old man, a Deuce, guarding the headquarters. Moreover, she always felt uncomfortable here. Chun Zhao entered the warehouse. It had been 3 days since the equipment had been installed. Chun Zhao could use this opportunity to try. Of course, he locked the door first, in case Portia came in. Little Jerlin and little Larissa were left in Portia's care. Chun Zhao punched a hole in the wall opposite the ring-shaped sensor. Then, he turned on the device. Chun Zhao stood at the other end of the ring-shaped instrument. As long as Chun Zhao passed through the ring-shaped device, the device would record his data. This instrument was originally used to measure the speed of artillery shells. However, there was no problem with using it to test other objects. He took off his clothes and changed into the dragon scale underwear. He took a deep breath. He assumed the starting position of a track and field athlete. Release. Chun Zhao kicked with all his strength and shot out like a cannonball. Who? Chun Zhao instantly passed through the ring-shaped sensor. However, Chun Zhao felt that he hadn't let go of his body just now, so his speed wasn't at his peak. Chun Zhao returned to the device and checked if it had measured his speed. The screen showed 991 meters per second, which was Mach 2. 91. Chun Zhao went back to the starting point and tried again. The same process. Release. Chun Zhao felt that his condition was even better this time. There was an obvious improvement. 1,125 meters per second, Mach 3. 3, not bad. It seemed that after running twice, the cells in Chun Zhao's body had become active again. Chun Zhao ran again. This time, he increased his speed to Mach 3. 32, but not by much. For the next few times, Chun Zhao kept trying. It hovered around Mach 3. 35. After 10 tries, Chun Zhao had basically confirmed his running speed. Then he tested his flying speed. Chun Zhao did superhuman movements and passed through the ring-shaped sensor. The first time was Mach 4. 25. Then he tried 10 more times. His speed was maintained at Mach 4. 3. He had a conclusion about his running and flying speed in his normal state. From now on, Chun Zhao would try in his complete state. Clone. All spells return to 1. Dark Assimilation. Eye of Power, Mighty God. All the statuses were added to Chun Zhao's body. He had already become a small giant. The ring-shaped sensor was only 3 meters in diameter. He clearly couldn't pass through it by running. Chun Zhao directly tested his flying speed. Chun Zhao exploded at full speed, creating a strong gust of air. Mach 14. 88. This was the result of the first test. However, Chun Zhao felt that he could still increase his speed. Then, he did the second test. Mach 15. 25. The increase was obvious. In his complete state, Chun Zhao was basically the fastest object flying in Earth's atmosphere. Even the rockets with the highest thrust couldn't surpass him in the atmosphere. This speed was unimaginable from the perspective of normal creatures, but for the more powerful existences that Chun Zhao knew. For example, the Great Lords, Secondary Demon Kings, and Great Demon Kings. Chun Zhao estimated that they could all crush him in speed. It was the same even if they weren't good at speed. Just like the current Chun Zhao, he wasn't good at speed either. But Chun Zhao could still crush an elite in speed. The difference between them was in level. So, when Chun Zhao faced the more powerful existences, they also had the ability to crush Chun Zhao in level. Moreover, it wasn't just 1 or 2 levels. In fact, there was a huge difference. Mr. Aduz, where did the boss go? Portia held little Jerlin's hand and carried little Larissa's. I don't know. Aduz knew that Chun Zhao had entered the warehouse. That's weird. Where did that sound come from? It's been making that noise since an hour ago. It wasn't here last time. Miss Portia, have you eaten? Our restaurant is open. Is there anyone else here other than you? Portia asked in confusion. She didn't notice Aduz's crude change of topic. Let's go. Jerlin really likes our food. Portia thought about it in confusion. Why did it feel weird? 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1785. Portia entered the restaurant. She realized that the food section was already filled with all kinds of food. They were all prepared food, but there wasn't a single person, just a few of them. Mr. Aduz, where's everyone? Who? A chef in a restaurant needs waiters, right? There's no waiters, Aduz said casually. Take whatever you want. Portia realized that there was indeed no one else in the restaurant. But who was the one who made all these dishes? It can't be made by a ghost, right? But the food was all hot. There were only a few people here. Could they finish all the food? Just then, Chen Zhao walked in. Seeing Chen Zhao, Portia retracted her previous thoughts. With Chen Zhao here, they could definitely finish it. Clang! Portia jumped in fright. But it wasn't a big deal. The spoon had just fallen to the ground. But the spoon was on the table. No one touched it. How did it suddenly fall? Portia obviously didn't know that there were a few invisible people here. Don't look around when you're eating. Chen Zhao placed the food before Portia and slammed the table. It wasn't the first time she saw Chen Zhao eat. But every time, he would give her a shock. Was he really not human? Where did the food go after he stuffed it into his mouth? Not just Chen Zhao. Little Jerlin ate quite a lot too. In Chen Zhao's family, only little Larissa was normal. She was drinking milk from a bottle. Chen Zhao and Fei Lai were planning to wean little Larissa in the next 2 days. Some children were easier to wean because they had already received other foods in advance, so they could quickly eat other foods as their staple food after weaning. Some children were more patient and would cry for 2 or 3 days after weaning. They only wanted milk and nothing else. Little Jerlin had experienced it once, but she was very adaptable. She didn't cry much and was successfully weaned in less than a day. She only woke up hungry at night during the weaning. If Chen Zhao and Fei Lai didn't grit their teeth and persevere, they probably would have failed. If they failed once, the second weaning would be even more difficult. Normally, it was best for children to be weaned between 1 and 2 years old. The digestive ability of a 1-year-old child was strong enough to accept most food. Some children did not stop drinking milk until they were 8 or 9 years old, or even 10 years old. In fact, this had become a burden for the child's growth. To a certain extent, giant infants' physical fitness and immune systems were weaker than children of the same age. Of course, little Larissa was the same as little Jerlin. They were both stronger and healthier than their peers. Milk was rich in nutrients, but the human body needed more trace elements. The richer the diet, the better the body's development and health. Take little Jerlin as an example. Although her growth and development were not extraordinary, however, her physique was far better than that of other children her age. Even children older than her were not necessarily better than her. Little Jerlin could soak in the seawater for half a day. After eating and drinking, Chen Zhao patted Aduz's shoulder. Aduz, I'm leaving. Oh, have a safe trip, guild leader. Along the way, Portia was puzzled. Whether it was in the Mingwe villa or in that restaurant, Portia couldn't understand why they couldn't find Chef. What was there to hide from Chef? Boss, where are the chefs in your family and that restaurant hiding? Why are you guys always so secretive? I already said that our chefs are ugly. They can't meet guests. What about that restaurant? They're twins. They're both ugly, so they can't meet guests. Portia's face darkened. Even if you're lying, can't you be more careful? If the chefs know what you're saying, I wonder what they'll think. Just then, Chen Zhao received a call from Felwood Cisco. Felwood, what's up? Mr. Chen, the main part of the Mirror Lake project has been completed. When do you have time to send someone over to monitor the project? I'm free today, Chen Zhao said. At the same time, he told Portia, let's go to Mirror Lake. When they reached Mirror Lake, Chen Zhao parked the car in the temporary parking lot. Little Jerlin had been very excited about returning to Mirror Lake. But when she saw the lake that had changed drastically, she was a bit dazed. Maybe she thought that she had gone the wrong way. Little Larissa had no impression of Mirror Lake at all. Felwood Cisco walked over. Mr. Chen, Miss Portia. It had been less than half a month since Portia's last visit. However, the Mirror Lake project progressed quickly. For one, it was because of Felwood Cisco's urging. For another, the latter part of the project wasn't difficult. The most difficult part of the project was wading into the water. After that was done, the main part of the project was no longer difficult. Chen Zhao looked at the completed main part of the building. He He was quite satisfied with the design. "Dad, is this our Mirror Lake?" Little Jerlin asked. Mirror Lake was still Mirror Lake, but the buildings were clearly different from what she remembered. "Of course. Don't you remember? But what about our previous home?" Dad didn't think it looked good, so he rebuilt it. Portia was speechless at Chen Zhao's parenting style. She didn't know the actual situation. She really thought that Chen Zhao had demolished and rebuilt it because it wasn't good. But with her understanding of Chen Zhao, he really might do something like that. Because of the project, the water at the edge of Mirror Lake was a bit turbid, but it didn't affect the water quality of the entire lake. After all, the project was only going on at the edge of Mirror Lake. Moreover, Felwood Cisco was trying his best to ensure that the water quality of Mirror Lake wouldn't be affected. After all, Mirror Lake still had to provide water for the brewery. There wasn't much to see at the construction site. The current progress was around 60%. It was a mess. Chen Zhao couldn't tell if it was good or bad. Chen Zhao just watched from the outside. He'd leave the quality inspection to the professional department. "Mr. Felwood," Chen Zhao said, "it's best to expand your company in the next 2 years." Felwood Cisco pricked up his ears. His heart skipped a beat. Was it because of the private airport Chen Zhao mentioned earlier? "Mr. Chen, my company's people should be able to handle the private airport. It's not a private airport." Chen Zhao shook his head. "I can't reveal more information right now, but the project might be dozens of times larger than the private airport." That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.